All right. Happy Monday. Mm. On behalf of the Kansas City Chiefs, I apologize for presenting what will go down as the worst Super Bowl across the board, from the pregame, the presentation by Fox, the commercials,
The
leave the
scoreboard.
halftime aside, the whole outcome. Man, that was the big easy. It was a big bore, but I'm here. I'm
You are here.
Yes.
Not only are you
Yes.
here,
Never
Yeah.
doubted for a second.
I just want to credit you for our listeners who are not watching the stream, who are just
Why
listening
are
to
they
us
not
over
watching the stream?
Yeah.
Well, for the people who may not
They
be
should
watching,
be watching the stream. Why aren't they up with us?
For the people
We're
who
up.
are not,
Okay. All right.
for
All
the
right.
people who are not, you are decked out in Chiefs gear.
Yes, I am.
I would be. I would not be decked out in my team's gear after that performance yesterday.
No, it's a
but here-
flex. I like
But
it.
here you are.
No, I don't. It's not flex. You know what?
As long as 15
my
is still there,
team.
they'll be fine.
My team, we got our ass kicked last night. Okay. Just totally dominated. When it's staggering, when you've had the success the Chiefs have had, to get beat like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to sting for a while, but man, that's my team. And I've been with them since I was a little kid, and I've lived through the good times and I've lived through the bad times. And last night was a bad night, beaten by a team that was much better than the Chiefs. And I'm not going to say that I was surprised, because you guys know, all of our listeners, you guys know,
Right.
I've felt this way since this became the Super Bowl matchup. I never once was like, oh, the Chiefs are going to win.
No. You weren't.
Like there were a lot of things in this that
you
you
made
know,
it very.
Philadelphia had an advantage, but I never. Let's just say that the score was a little bit misleading. The final score.
It's our fault. We said we hadn't had a blowout in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, we got reminded of what it was like to watch the Super Bowl in the 80s and the 90s. So I'm not quitting today. You can tell the real Chiefs fans that'll be like, oh,
Right.
they're going to fall from grace and this is all over. That's fine. You were never with us to begin with.
Yeah.
You were a bandwagoner. I just want people to know that America, you have to root for the Eagles. Maybe you you enjoy that the Chiefs got beat more than the Eagles winning. But unless you're in Kansas City doing sports talk this morning, I think it is disingenuous to spend a lot of time on the Chiefs. I think it's about the Eagles and what they did to get to that point yesterday, and then what they did. I mean, that was impressive. But America lost. It was a terrible day.
Does this loss make the Chiefs more likable?
I don't know. You know what? That's a great question, Matt. Because if the NFL actually was rigged,
Yeah.
what happened yesterday?
Exactly.
What
JJ Watt had that
happened?
Why didn't the Chiefs win? I thought the
I
fix was
know.
in. If anything,
I know.
the Eagles were getting the calls yesterday. They were the ones. Was it rigged for the Eagles? I think the Eagles got. I think they got the NFL were like, look, it's getting too obvious that the Chiefs are winning, so we're gonna rig it for the Eagles. How about that?
It's just like wrestling. They'll suck you back in. You see?
It was. You're absolutely right. It was all about the Eagles yesterday. And the funny thing is that people. It wasn't as if we had never seen this happen before with the Chiefs, because this book has been out after the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. If your front four can dominate the Chiefs front four and get Mahomes on the move and get him under pressure consistently, you can beat the Chiefs and you can kick their ass, honestly. And that's what the Buccaneers did. That's what the Eagles did. Vic Fangio did a really great job. I mean, when they did those replays, the Eagles defensive front, they were rushing in a way where they got a lot of one-on-ones. And they were winning those one-on-ones and putting a lot of pressure on Mahomes. And that secondary, too. I mean, we can't see what Mahomes is seeing, but it was oftentimes
He wasn't seeing much.
He wasn't seeing much. When he didn't have time, when he did have time to throw, he didn't want to throw because they were covered. So the Eagles defense, Vic Fangio gets all the credit in the world. They did a great job, and the Eagles offense did what they needed to do.
I don't think this was like the Tampa Bay loss. The
saying
result number is, but here's the difference.
Sure.
In that game, yes, the offensive line for the Chiefs was bad, but they had suffered a couple of injuries going into that game.
Good point.
They were physically dominated on the line of scrimmage yesterday on both sides of the ball, which on one side of the ball doesn't rarely happen, but they were dominated on both sides. In the game that was the COVID Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes was really good. I mean, Patrick Mahomes still made plays in that game.
Yeah.
Even with the offensive line getting decimated. what happened yesterday is Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest players in the history of the NFL at the age of 29. He also had maybe his worst game ever, and both can be true. He was terrible yesterday. He was tap dancing. He played into everything the Eagles knew he was going to do. Like, he loves when there's pressure to go inside instead of getting outside of the pocket. He steps up. So he was stepping into the pressure.
Yeah.
And he had no trust in his offensive lineman. He wasn't seeing downfield. The thing about yesterday, and I won some money off the Chiefs, so I'm not going to be totally decimated this morning.
Congratulations! All right.
I'm here to take it because there was
Daddy's getting groceries this week.
All
there was
right,
the
you too.
there was the
Wait, I won too.
There was the sarcastic Arrowhead clap. Taylor Swift got booed.
Yeah.
When you're up there and you lose like that, everything's coming your way, and I'm here for it.
Right.
We're gonna be stronger for it. But when you have a game like that, and Philadelphia got off to a great start. Like, there were 2 instances where I thought, okay, if the Chiefs are going to do something, it's going to happen here. Once they get the Jalen Hurts interception, they went 3 and out. And I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then after back-to-back sacks of Mahomes, that's when he throws the pick 6 to DeJean. And I thought, it's over. But there was still part of me that said, okay, if you can go into the locker room down 17-0 at halftime, you're going to get the ball to begin the second half. You still got Patrick Mahomes. As bad as they played, you got this extended halftime. You got some changes. But once it became 24-0, I was like, can we have more bad commercials, please?
They were bad.
But the other thing about this one is when you are playing a team like the way Philadelphia was playing yesterday, and sometimes you just chalk it up. One team is better than the other. You just do simple things. I mean, they didn't blitz. they played man against Kansas City.
Yeah.
They only rushed 4. I mean, sometimes a team is better, but there are opportunities during a game, even when you're playing a team like the way the Eagles were playing yesterday, and you have a couple of moments where they open the door for you, and you're like I was just referencing. Philadelphia never did that. They never gave Kansas City an opportunity to get back into the game. And very rarely do you see that. Even the most dominating performances, there's like 1 or 2 times where you're like, if this game's going to be a game, it's going to happen right here.
Yeah.
Philadelphia never allowed Kansas City to do that. So all hail the savage Philadelphia fans that are wrecking their city this morning. And,
It was clear that Spagnuolo's game plan was, hey, we're going to bottleneck Saquon Barkley. We're going to absolutely sell out everything to stop Saquon Barkley. We are not going to allow Saquon Barkley to beat us. And instead, it's going to be Jalen Hurts and his arm that are going to produce any offense. And that's what he did. I mean, Jalen Hurts was really, really good yesterday.
Shouldn't have won the MVP, though.
I agree.
Yeah.
Josh Sweat
I was about to say.
should have won. First of all, you'll make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he should have won the MVP. If a defensive guy is going to win the MVP, that was the performance
You got
yesterday.
to think that there were like about 14 to 15 people who bet like plus 8,000 for Josh Sweat to win the Super Bowl MVP, and they must have been pissed last night. After,
That would be me if I
and
did that.
too, they're all waiting. They're probably a group of people. They're probably in some dorm in like Calabasas, California.
Nice.
and
Shout out
they're
Incubus.
all huddled around the TV. They shouldn't be watching this game anymore. They should be in bed, but they're all waiting. All right, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? And then like Jalen Hurts, and you're like, dang it.
You're already
I mean, that
mentally
was going to be
spending the money.
groceries for the next 8 months. Was that Josh Sweat plus 8,000 ticket?
Or you had Dotson as the first touchdown.
Oh.
He was 85-1, and they took that touchdown off the board.
Well, I have to admit,
Again, that'd be my luck.
I had a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. So when he went down at the 1 yard line, I started parading around the apartment yelling,
Tush push.
tush, push, tush, push, tush, push. So, and my Kansas City fan, he's a fan of Kansas City, was pissed at me because I was celebrating the Eagles. But I'm like,
You might as well win money.
No, Jalen Hurts, yes, he shouldn't have won the MVP, but
I didn't think
hell of a game. Hell of a game. On his feet, too. He was
game
rushing
2
on
years
his
ago
feet. He
was
was getting
better.
out of the pocket. He did what he needed to do for his team to win. It was more about the defense.
That's the point. He did enough for his team to win.
Yes.
Because the real Jalen Hurts that I know, the very rare time that Kansas City got any pressure on him, what happened?
He ran.
No. threw an interception.
Oh, that one. Okay.
So, I mean, once Kansas City had no pressure and Hurts could stand back there and think about what catalog Kendrick Lamar was going to play at halftime, Chiefs were in trouble.
He just
then he started to run. But like you're right. They had a game plan to make Hurts beat you, which is not a bad game plan.
No, not terrible.
Jalen Hurts has a good story to tell, and he's very methodical, and he's a deep thinker, and he's a good guy, and I'm glad he got his Super Bowl, okay? I mean, I don't know who takes credit for it, Alabama or Oklahoma. But
good question.
But it actually was a smart plan by Kansas City. Like, if you would have told me that Barkley was bottled up and just showed me the stats and didn't show me the score, I'd be like, Kansas City is either ahead or this game is tied.
Yeah.
So they were able to do that because I don't think they thought that Hurts for a full 60 minutes could beat them, that they would get to him with blitzes and stuff. But he picked apart the few times that Kansas City brought blitzes, and then also Barkley picked up some guys on blitz pickups. And Hurts gets the MVP. I think if there would have been more pressure, you would have seen the real Jalen Hurts without Barkley in the backfield doing work.
I think Kellen Moore, who is going to be the next New Orleans Saints head coach.
Is that breaking news?
No, but I mean, not official yet.
What if he turned him down? Like he is the new Saints coach?
Yeah.
What if after last night, like he woke up this morning and said, nah.
He's right. We should run it back.
I'm good.
So let's talk about this, because I thought maybe we would get to this later in the show. But like, you're going to be Kellen Moore, and you're going from having Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, the best offensive line in the league, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, like literally one of the best constructed offenses, not only just in the league, in like the last decade of the NFL. I mean, this offense is absolutely loaded. And you're going to go to New Orleans, and you got what? A old Alvin Kamara. You have Jake Haener as your quarterback, or Spencer Rattler as your quarterback, or
what happened to Derek Carr?
Derek Carr is your quarterback.
You have
no tight end. You have Chris Olave, who we'll see if he can recover. But I mean, it's been a lot of concussions for him at this point, and was out of the season for an extended period of time due to that. Like, you are going from eating caviar and having lobster to like you're in like the back dumpster having a hot dog and some nachos. Like, it is not even comparable what he has now to what he's going to. So yeah, maybe if he wakes up this morning after like 3 hours of sleep and decides, you know what, I want to stay coaching Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't blame him whatsoever.
Cowboys should have hired him. They're going to find out the hard way.
I don't know. I like Shoddy.
Your owner said you should have been in the Super Bowl, and why did they pay Dak?
He needs to stop talking.
Yeah. Well,
it's all about family. Hey, do it with family. At the end of the day, though, do it with family.
Hey, I want everybody to know.
In the South.
I want everybody to know because I'm the only Chiefs fan on this radio station, so I'm here for the sarcastic comments. But I also know that y'all would take what the Chiefs have just gone on.
Oh my God!
Yes,
in a heartbeat.
They're not going anywhere.
If you don't admit it, you're a fraud. But that's okay. I kid.
I don't know if you do. I don't think you're kidding. Well, I think you think that.
Oh, I you know what? Hey, for people that were around me yesterday, I've been really calm all year because I didn't expect a lot out of this year.
Right.
And I didn't expect Kansas City to win yesterday. And like when 5:30 hit, I was like, okay, it's go time. It's the Super Bowl. My team's playing. Here we go. But as the game unfolded, I wasn't like angry. I wasn't, I was like, sometimes, man, it's competition. Sometimes the other team is so much better than you, even if you are a really good team. And I think Kansas City's a team that had some flaws, that knows how to win. And the Magician had a terrible day at the office yesterday, and they got beat by a really, really good team. But for all of us football fans that now don't have football for a while, I apologize because that turned into a super snooze day.
Yeah.
The game was bad, so it kind of influences everything you think about the Super Bowl. and again, the Eagles are like an all-time team. The way they were constructed, they're constructed to win big. And look at their average margin of victory in the postseason was 17 points. They're a real deal team, but they probably won't get as much credit because the game was lopsided and the commercials weren't overwhelming. people were mixed about the halftime show. Tom Brady wasn't very good. The score bug sucked.
Oh,
Fox's production was off. The audio the whole day from their start on Bourbon Street to the post game with Bradshaw, and so uncomfortable, and the greed of the NFL that you hand the Lombardi to the owner. It is going to go down as one of the bad Super Bowls and the boring Super Bowls. Unfortunately, well, if you're an Eagle fan, you could care less.
Right.
yeah.
But that involves a team that in that stage put on one of the most impressive performances. So I apologize to America. We had a super snooze yesterday.
Also, too, let's add
That's a good
into this because, and I'm not blaming the Chiefs. I'm not saying this is.
You can blame us.
No, I'm not blaming the Chiefs. I'm just
played
pointing
in
out that
5
this
Super
was a
Bowls,
point.
3 of the last 6 they've won. I mean, you can blame them.
The Philadelphia
It's
Eagles
difficult.
might go down as an all-time team just because of the average margin of victory, how
Yeah.
talented the roster is, Saquon Barkley. You go down. I mean, there are going to be very well could be multiple Hall of Famers on this team when it's all said and done. Okay. But the problem is that the lead into the game wasn't about the Eagles being an all-time team. It wasn't about the Eagles cementing their legacy. It wasn't about the Eagles, putting the cherry on top to this historic season. It was Kansas City winning 3 Super Bowls in a row. And rightfully so,
Mhm.
that should be. But when the team who gets featured the most, and they're the featured story heading into the Super Bowl, and they get their, doors blown off.
Oh, you can say it. I'm not
get-
afraid. I've said it.
No.
I've said it.
They
got their
get
ass
their
kicked.
door. They get their ass kicked.
Thank you.
Like that's it. It's negative because you're like, well, this isn't what we expected. We were expecting the Chiefs to win. We were expecting the Chiefs to be the score. We were expecting the Chiefs to be competitive. And so, like, if it was the other way around, if the Chiefs had kicked the Eagles' ass, maybe we would look on this Super Bowl more favorably because, hey, the pregame and the talk, all of that came to fruition. But the fact that it was the opposite is why we look at it, I think why we look at it more negatively. But that score bug was terrible. And the commercials were the fact that the Lilo and Stitch commercial was the very first commercial and it was one of the better commercials. Just
I'm
tells
excited
you
for Lilo
how
and Stitch.
bad the commercials were.
That
I got-
bug looked like the 93 ABC graphics.
It looked like I
package.
was watching PBS. I mean, it looked terrible.
So it was constructed on Windows 95.
Yeah.
It
Makes,
looked like
there you go.
You might be a little too old for this one, but
Whoa.
Fortnite. It looked like the Fortnite font. The Fortnite font, though. You don't play.
He doesn't
Fortnite.
listen.
You don't play Fortnite.
Yeah, I do.
You play Fortnite?
I haven't played it in a while, but I do.
Where do you drop?
Huh?
Where do you drop in Fortnite?
I don't know. I haven't played like in 2 years.
It looked like the Fortnite font. I'm all for minimalism. That was awful. That
So-
was just bland.
So I think,
It was just terrible.
I
trying
see
to-
what they were trying to do, but
I think what they did, and I don't know why networks wait until the Super Bowl to debut a score bug.
gets me every
Also,
time.
I love America to begin with. I just want to put that out there. We got a lot of things, and there were a lot of stuff going on yesterday. I love America. Okay. Whatever we're doing to the Canadians, halftime. Yeah. There's so much in halftime that I absolutely will never forget. But when it comes to the score bug, and you would think that it's very innocuous, that people are like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I like that we could come together in all of our hate that we have for our teams, our debate on how many more wins Nebraska will need to get in the NCAA tournament. We can look at each other and go, the score bug. Let's talk about it. Here's what I think. I didn't like it because I don't like debuting stuff on the biggest stage. I think what they tried to do, just like halftime was not for you, for me, for you, and you, the score bug was not for the people that were watching on Fox or Tubi. That score bug was intended for people that were watching on their phone.
Oh.
That's what I think
okay.
it was, and they tried it out to see. Because if you look at it on your phone, because of the size,
It looks good.
it looks fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
So I don't know that. That's what I'm thinking.
That's really smart from you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting
That's
way
all
of
I can
looking
think
at it.
that it would look that awkward.
Sure.
and that they would, they were taking slings and arrows all over the place for a score bug, which I love you, America.
I know.
The fact that we got agitated right away. I mean, who had it on their bingo card that you'd get agitated about a score bug before you got agitated about the refs helping the Chiefs? Which happened pretty soon after the score bug debuted.
Yeah, I was about to say the time in between wasn't that long. But the funny thing is though, you just know across America and across the world, people are sitting down on their couches. The big game comes on. We're ready to go, and all
that's exactly
ceremoniously, all at once, everybody goes, "What the is that?"
Literally what I
is
said.
on my screen?
Yeah. I was excited for the new bug, thinking we're gonna have a nice bug. It's gonna be clean, crisp.
Here's my
are you guys both minimalists?
No. I mean, like I
want more.
I think it's clean. Like I think that there's some minimalistic designs that are clean. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I think that like minimalism shouldn't be like for the masses. Like it's not everybody should be doing minimalism.
Deep thinking.
Because then like we're all like it should be a little bit unique, to like there's certain teams where it makes sense, there's certain teams where it does make sense. You should be flashy. You should be like the 90s, It doesn't make sense for the Raptors to go into minimalism.
Yeah. That's a good one.
But like the Jazz, they should go into minimalism.
Yeah.
Like that, it works for them. I don't understand why they don't have a backup score bug. Like you can't go in the vault and just be like, all you gotta do is click a button.
94, you're in.
Don't you have to click a button and be like, all right, take that off, and then you put that one on. And
I don't know that it's.
Do you think they keep it?
Is it that easy?
So
it should be that easy.
So it matched their other graphics. If you had really spent time looking at it, their whole package looked cheap.
It did.
Surprising.
Did Fox
because it didn't even look like minimalism. It just looked bland.
It looked. I thought the whole presentation was very poor. They had audio issues all day. I got a really good TV. There are things in life I will spend a lot of money on.
Yeah.
Somebody in the stream says hookers and blow. No, I'm older. TV,
bed and TV,
TV and a bed.
Yeah.
Okay, and the sound that comes out of that TV. They had audio issues all day long, and it was even more magnified at halftime. Like
I couldn't hear
the Kendrick Lamar was
really
impacted by bad audio.
The background music was way too loud. I couldn't really I knew kind of what he was saying, but like Kendrick also is kind of a quieter singer as well, so he needs to be amped up already.
Which they rehearse, and you would think you'd know that if you're in charge of audio. Right. I can't wait to talk to Perdone, who was at the Super Bowl yesterday, because they don't really show the crowd during a performance of any artist to see how engaged they are. But I'm curious if people inside of the Superdome, like what they thought, if like the audio was as bad as it was on TV. Because again, everybody had thoughts. Okay?
Yeah.
But I want to tell you something here of, people like, your parents aren't going to like that. There's a lot of people in there. There are a lot of people like myself that is a Kendrick Lamar fan. I was a little bit disappointed, but we'll talk about what I think impacted him. But you rehearse, so you know those audio things. But what was it like inside of the stadium? Like, could they hear it as well? Because on TV, and man, he's a brilliant artist.
He is.
You pick your rap genres of the new day, old day, all that kind of stuff. But he is an unbelievable artist. I thought the audio part really is going to frame how people look at him. And I hope that people get to see him in his stadium shows this spring and summer, because he'll be completely different.
Yeah.
But the audio all day was just,
man.
The audio even on the post game
was rasp.
It was bad.
It was popping. And we're millions of dollars in this broadcast here. Like this is
they did spend $375 million on Brady, so maybe they had to cut back.
Yeah. I don't know. Regardless though, I was watching the halftime show, and you see him in the different sets and, doing what he was doing. And then they had that one thing where they were in the boxes, right? Like he was transitioning in those 4 boxes. And I go, how the hell is this enjoyable, in the stadium? This is made just for TV. What are you even seeing? Can you even see him moving? Do you even know which one is Kendrick? Seriously.
Yeah.
It and then the audio too, where it's it doesn't even sound good on the TV. I wonder how it sounds like in this big old dome, where probably it's not conducive to have a great, like when you're right in the middle and then have the audio go everywhere. Like, I don't know. It just was one of those, the halftime show in general is one of those things that's made for TV and not necessarily the people at the stadium. This one in particular looked like it was just not easy to enjoy if you were there at the Super Bowl. So
do you think the whole sport is going to TV?
I think everything is going to TV. I think
or your phones, based on what you said about the bug.
Well, like look at I everybody talks about enhancing an in-stadium experience for college football, i.e. Lincoln. TV. I mean, hey, if you don't show up but the TV ratings are good, we're happy. Look at a bowl game.
Look at COVID.
I think the only people that were there yesterday in attendance were celebrities. They didn't show.
They didn't really.
Yeah,
you're right. They didn't really do the whole look who's here.
Yeah, they didn't go into the stands and go, "Hey, there's Bob from Delco. Glad he came down. He's a big Philly fan. Oh, he's sitting next to Sherry from Shawnee Mission." I mean, it was nothing but celebrities, and then bizarro world of Paul McCartney and Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and they're yelling at each other back and forth in the suite.
You're onto something here. The whole sport, unfortunately, I think is just turning into a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't. The in-stadium experience, not necessarily for you because we're going to price you out.
Yeah.
But at home, man, we're 4K and we got all this other stuff. And so we're going to enhance what we deliver on your screen while you're sitting on your couch at home.
We're getting to the point where sports is just more enjoyable from your home because it's your home, it's your couch, it's your pillow, it's your blanket.
Literally what we said last night.
Like you don't have to pay an exuberant.
You watch football with a pillow and a blanket.
I'm just saying.
I know the Chiefs had a bad night last night,
cold.
But I did not grab my pillow and blanket and lay on the couch.
I had a blanket because I was cold.
It's comfortable. All right.
Maybe
cold. It's
shed
cold
a
in my
tear
apartment.
for Travis, but
regardless, though, it's your house. You're comfortable. You don't have to spend any money, right? You're just sitting there. Like, why would you leave? Why would you go out into the cold? Why would you spend cash on a ticket and cash on a parking pass and cash on food and cash on beer? And then
people
you got to go out after.
Then I got $30 pull boy yesterday.
Then I got to get stuck in traffic. And, or if I don't want to get stuck in traffic, I have to leave really early. Like, no, I'm just going to sit down on my couch and I'm going to watch the game.
You two have the quad
box. The NFL
box.
and everybody knows that now. So it's just they're saying, hey, we're going to make this the best we possibly can for the viewer. And they failed yesterday because it wasn't. Visually, it wasn't great. Audio-wise, it wasn't great. Commercial-wise, sucked. It was not a good production at all.
So super snooze, but congratulations to the Eagles and tear down your city, please. Just get rid of the city.
Yeah, I didn't see any videos or anything like that yet of like them.
Oh, there's
crazy.
A lot of looting. They grease the poles. There's looting.
Any poop being eaten again?
I don't know.
I went to bed. I didn't want to get.
I don't think they.
Anything happened outside of Zesto's?
No, it was cold.
No. All right, now the off season is here. Everyone is 0-0.
You're gonna
celebrate.
Caleb's coming. Caleb's coming. He's coming, guys.
Detroit, Philadelphia opener. That's my prediction.
Okay.
All
right.
I don't think they want to put like division games like Washington and Dallas. I think they want to save them like for Thanksgiving
or Sundays when you.
But I could see Detroit and Philadelphia opening up the season.
This isn't because it's me, but if the Bears win the offseason title,
oh, get out of here!
I'm listening.
It's a little bit like what they did with Kansas City and Detroit, right? Like, Detroit didn't make the playoffs the year before, but they won the offseason title.
I go with your prediction.
Everybody was really excited about them, and then they put them in a big game against Kansas City to start the year, kind of out of nowhere. Could be. I'm just saying it could be. I'm not saying it will be. I'm saying it could be. We could be in the running for that.
I kind of hope it is.
I don't think.
I don't think Philly. I don't think the Bears play Philly.
It'll be Detroit.
Yes, they do. Chicago does play. Yeah, because I believe that the NFC East plays the NFC North this year.
Could be us.
Oh, we get Bears Cowboys this year? All right.
44-0.
So
Philadelphia goes to Green Bay. They also go to Kansas City. Chiefs have a pretty good home schedule this upcoming year. But I guess it's over, so I don't know if the Chiefs will have another season. Gonna be sad. I thought they'd go back to St. Joe and have training camp, but
they're gonna go back to River Falls instead.
That's okay. Baseball is here. The Cubs reported for spring training yesterday. All right, coming up on the show, Evan Bland stops by.
Way to bury the lead.
There's
about a football.
There's
game.
a lot in there. The tone of the show might be different 5 weeks from today because we'll have a bracket. But Evan Bland will stop by at 8:30. It is college baseball at the end of the week, so baseball season's here again. You can catch it all on WGN.
Oh, I thought you were going to go. You can catch it on Nebraska Public Media.
No. Evan stops by at 8:30. Jacob Bigelow is in at 9.
Basketball boy. He was on
Nebraska basketball yesterday with a victory. Hey, let's just say the Hoopers in the 402, y'all balling out.
Yeah.
5 weeks from today, it could be one of the more glorious days in this state's history of sports.
Hope it happens.
As Creighton, Nebraska, and Omaha all will wake up this morning, and all are in a lot of brackets. Anywhere from 7 to 9 to a 16 seed. But you're in a bracket. 5 weeks from today, we have a bracket.
Bracket.
That's the lineup brought to you by the Roofers of John Higgins. Weather Guard, busy sports weekend outside of the Super Bowl. But we still got some thoughts on the Super Bowl. From halftime to commercials to Mahomes to Hurts to Philadelphia to, of course, the man who was wearing a $600,000 watch yesterday and has gigantic hands, otherwise known as TB12.
I can't believe, it hits the screen, and immediately I'm like, look at that watch. I'm like, it just made it all about him right away. Just like, yep, there it is. It is just, I don't know. It was so gold, it looked orange.
He just talks. He just talks.
Doesn't really add anything to that broadcast.
Yeah, and it's when it's a blowout, it's even more magnified. All right, we're off and running. We'll get some calls this morning. You got thoughts on the Super Bowl or anything else from the weekend after the Big Easy Super Bowl? I wanted to say that. I just wish it was my team, but that happens. You know what?
Hey,
how many teams have played in 3 straight Super Bowls?
0.
How many teams have Pat Mahomes as their quarterback?
Thank you. Hey, we all have bad days at the office. Some of us just go home at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Others are on the greatest stage in the sport.
Others have 100 million people watching them.
How about that once? A quick little note on that number, because I think this will be, even as bad as the Super Bowl was, the way they're doing the TV ratings, it'll have an enormous number. Once the pregame, once they're an hour out from kickoff, the Super Bowl is picking up 1 million viewers every 7 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's a great stat.
That was us. We turned on about 4 something.
Yeah, we got out
after
at
Puppy Bowl and Hubie Brown.
Yeah, that was really good. ESPN had a really good weekend. We'll get into all that of a full sports weekend. Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in the morning after the Super Bowl. Some say this should be a national holiday, a day of mourning.
Parking lot should be empty today.
So where I went to high school, I'm actually wearing the hoodie right now.
Yeah.
They would bribe us. So we would have a fundraiser, right? It would call it like the Don Marathon or whatever, and we would have to like raise as much money as possible so like we could buy things as a school, right?
Yeah.
And so they go, if you raise this amount of money, we will get Super Bowl Monday off. So that's how they bribed us,
Nice.
so that we had to like sell things and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so if we reached our goal, we didn't have to go to school on Monday.
Can we do that here? I mean, how does that work for a
So,
sports radio
hey,
station?
4 years, I had Super Bowl Monday off. It was incredible. And then
awesome.
last year, senior year of college, I go, I'm having Super Bowl Monday off, and they go, oh, you're like, you don't like your professor's called off, like you don't have classes. I go, no,
I did.
I have off, but I have off though. I have Super Bowl Monday off.
And now, the year later, you're working at 6 a.m. on
Yeah,
Super
now
Bowl
I don't.
Monday.
Now I can't make that an executive decision. Unfortunately, I can't sign an order and be like, show it to everybody.
So if they push the season back, if they add an extra game, they would finish on President's Day.
Oh, there we go. Still not
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, I was about to say. Doesn't really change anything.
But hey, go you guys.
Does most people have President's Days off?
I was gonna say
they go and buy mattresses on President's Day.
I never had President's Day off.
We did.
I don't know that we
Texas,
did,
we
even
loved our
when I
country.
was in a Catholic grade school. Now, Adam says Mount Michael has a tradition of his son goes to Elkhorn Mount Michael. They have a tradition of not having school the Monday after the Super Bowl.
Good for them.
Ooh.
Is that a recruiting thing?
Yeah. Elkhorn gets lit on
Could
Super
Jay,
Bowl
their
Sunday.
football coach, great guy, does he use that as a recruiting tool? Hey, if you come and play football at Elkhorn Mount Michael, you know what? We're a football school.
Uh-huh.
Day after the Super Bowl.
I wonder
no
if-
school.
I wonder if that's one of those things. Like if depends on the president. Like if you have the president of the high school, it's just a real. No.
I thought you were talking there at
I was about to-
Pennsylvania Avenue.
No. I'm not talking about DC. I'm talking about the president of
Did
the
you see-
high school.
See who took a picture with yesterday?
Who didn't
Matt
he
Rule?
take?
First of all, he
picture.
bailed early.
Man,
He didn't
he
stay
did.
for the whole game.
Yeah,
True sports fans stay for the
By
whole
the way,
game.
why would you? Is he rooting for? I mean, is
He
he,
said
an
he was
Eagles?
rooting
He was
for the
rooting for the
Chiefs.
Chiefs. He took Patrick.
He took a
Mah-
small loan and put
Patrick
it on Chiefs
Mahomes'
money
knob
line.
brother. Apparently,
Oh,
took a
I
pic-
saw
took
that.
a picture with the
Yes.
president.
Yeah,
What the?
Checks out.
yeah. I did see that. But I think it depends on the president of the high school. If the president of the high school really likes sports, they probably could be like,
That was a
nah, we're going
close
to have
one.
that day off.
Ed writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. He said, any update on Dylan Raiola? Has he shown up at practice this morning dressed as Jalen Hurts?
That's a good one.
He was catching some strays yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. There were multiple. I think Barstool did it first, and then everybody else
Yeah.
started to
Yeah.
pile on with
Yeah.
the whole.
I mean, there were times that you would have thought that Tommy Tuberville was coaching Mahomes or that Dylan Raiola was playing quarterback for the Chiefs, according to the internet.
According to the internet,
According to the internet.
not to us.
All right. 5 weeks from today, Selection Sunday leads to Bracket Monday. What if I was whisked away? I wasn't here 5 weeks from today because we were on our way to Dayton.
Right.
How cool would that be?
Would be.
It'd be really cool. You know what is cool?
What's cool?
Winning. You know what is cool in this
Winning
state? Nebraska, Creighton, Omaha, men's basketball, all on winning streaks. Yeah.
R.I.P. trash cans.
Yeah. Good morning, Andrew.
Drew,
All right, boys, how are we doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm kind of mixed today, but you know what? I'm here, and my team is 0-0, and we begin the quest to win the Super Bowl in
I
2025.
love how already you've transitioned.
You know,
You've moved
you know.
on so quickly.
I will say, I think Kansas City came out flat, and I wonder if
You think,
all
Andrew?
the distraction of the three-peat affected them. I think they just came out tremendously flat. And I thought they might get that first pass interference call. I thought the game was rigged when I saw that one.
That was a good call, by the way.
No, that wasn't. That was terrible.
No, what he grabbed his face mask.
It was
like
a
What
the hands to the
would
face.
you have thought differently if instead of
Right.
OPI they would have called offensive face mask?
Mhm.
I don't know. It was minimal. But anyway,
We'll discuss it later.
with the why don't they have, I think still to this day, the best days in sports are the first 2 days, not that playing game crap, but the first 2 games of the
NCAA tournament.
NCAA tournament. That should be a national 2 days off. If you want to make anything a holiday, that is the best.
I am with you.
Yeah.
Did you see, Andrew, that people in Vegas were ticked off because the number of visitors in Vegas was way down this weekend?
Really?
Like you could get top-notch rooms like for $100. People didn't go to Vegas for Super Bowl weekend. Now, Andrew knows this. People go to Vegas for the beginning of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe
there.
Vegas is dead.
I've done that. It's the best thing you can do. You sit at Caesars and you bet all the games. There's always another game to make your money up. It's awesome.
That's true.
It's a great mindset, Andrew.
And,
that is true.
But I agree with what you guys said earlier. People like staying home now.
They do.
You don't have to go. I mean, I went to the Marquette game. The experience was great.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd was great.
Crowd was great for that game.
There's something to be said about being home on your own couch. Plenty of beer in the fridge, plenty of food around that isn't going to cost you $10 for a beer,
Yeah.
I mean, I think somehow they might have to lower the prices of a sport outing, because how much does it cost a family to go to a baseball game? A 4. What would you say? $250?
You're starting at about $125 before you get into the ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
How much everything costs. But Nebraska played, and another thing. Good God.
Okay.
They're showing that Ohio State is a 10 seed in the tournament. Come on now. What are they, 14-9?
Hey, don't diminish.
That
diminish. Don't come here and backdoor diminish a big victory at home. Okay? Don't do it.
The Big Ten's overrated on the bottom.
There you go.
Whoa.
There you go. That's ridiculous.
I don't know if you saw it, but it was a big day for Nebraska yesterday. Braxton Mia went 3 for 3 at the free throw line. He's a 23% free throw shooter.
What was more likely, the Chiefs going 3 Super Bowls in a row, or Braxton Mia making 3 free throws? It was really, it's
That's
up for
a
debate.
tough one.
Andrew, thanks for the call. Thanks for the start for the week.
Take care, guys.
Also, Omaha hockey is winning.
Okay.
They've won 7 in a row at Baxter
State of
Arena.
winners.
Hey, Omaha Athletics,
What a year.
men's basketball and hockey have combined to win 15 in a row at Baxter Arena.
Nice.
I want to add something else
We're nothing but winners in this town.
to what Andrew said about the whole staying at home thing, everything like that.
Yeah.
The bar has to be really, really high now for me to go to a sporting event.
Yeah.
And not I think it used to just be like, oh, my team is playing. I have the ability to go. I'm going to go. Now I feel like it has to be the right game on the right day at the right time.
And you're in the right mood to go.
in the right mood and with the right price to justify me not staying at home watching it in the comfort of everything that I own.
Unless your team is winning.
Unless your team, that's good.
But if it's a middling 500 football team and you got to fight to get into the stadium,
weather's lousy.
You're probably thinking, you know what? I'll still support them. I'm just going to support them from 50 miles away.
Yeah.
Mr. Severe, who is a New Orleans guy
through and through.
New Orleans needs to always be in the rotation for the Super Bowl because they do it right. They don't try and shove patriotism down your throat. You know what they shove down your throat is a hell of a resilient community that has had a lot of bad. They've had a lot of good. But when they do the Super Bowl, they do it New Orleans style.
Yes.
They let you know about the culture and the people that live in that community year-round that are not tourists, that live there through the hurricanes and all the other stuff that you put up with living in that part of the country and in that city. And those people are so good. And it is such a fun place. And I will tell, I've been numerous times. I can go to New Orleans and not go to Bourbon Street and have a great time. And that's what tells me how great that city is.
That's a great point.
And I love that Fox did a really good job of telling the resiliency of the people there, especially after what happened on Bourbon Street, but also tells how important music is, how important culture is,
Mhm.
how important the people that have come before, that are there now and will come afterwards, that live in that community. And I thought if there was one thing Fox did yesterday, I think they taught you, or they showed you what a great community that is, and how that community should always be in the Super Bowl rotation. But Michael says probably one of the reasons why people didn't go to Vegas, because they can go to New Orleans, experience the Big Easy, and gamble there.
Well, that, and also too, you can just gamble on your phone now. I mean, you can
You do have a casino on your phone.
Exactly. Like, you have everything at the access of your computer. And so there would be people who just in general would just go to Vegas because that's where they have to place their bets,
Yeah.
and that's where they have
Yeah.
to gamble. Nowadays, you can just, like we keep on hammering home, you can sit at the comfort of your own home and you can bet on your phone or bet on your computer and you could be okay. You
That's
don't have
what
to
I
make
did
the big
last
trips
night.
anymore. Everything's just becoming more accessible to people. But
I was
I would love to do that though. Go to the first weekend of the NCAA tournament in Vegas and like get in front of all those TVs. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an experience I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's an experience I would go out of my way to do for sure.
All right. More on what happened last night with the Eagles winning. We haven't gotten into the commercials.
Yeah, I gotta pull up my list.
That list might be small.
Yeah, it is.
Halftime, Tom Brady, the future of the Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe the new dynasty.
What do you
the
mean
Philadelphia
future? They're
Eagles.
toast. They're toast. They're done.
Yeah.
They're not coming back. They'll never win another game.
Till next August.
I was really looking forward to my trip to New York City in the fall to go see the Chiefs and the Giants with Richie. He was ticked yesterday because we let Barkley win a Super Bowl championship. By the way, he was shotgunning beers. You see that?
I did see that.
Yeah. Plus,
Good-
we will talk
good shotgun. I can't shotgun.
weekend of hoops.
Hoops.
Good weekend of hoops
Great weekend.
for blue, red, and black. That's all
Thank you.
coming up in the next hour. Evan Bland, Jacob Bigelow a little bit later on Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. If George Thorogood was doing halftime last night,
Yeah,
you think
people
it
would have been happy, I'm
Would have
sure.
gone a little bit different.
It would have literally been your grandparents' halftime show.
Hell yes.
Now,
hoping for Lawrence Welk.
We said this leading up to the halftime show. It's probably not for you. We probably, I think, expected too much out of Kendrick because here.
I did.
I love Kendrick. I wish he would have gone a little bit more old school. But I mean, look at SZA was there. She was on the ground. That was wonderful. You had
Was she lip singing?
I think so. I think she was. Serena did a little sea walking. If people don't know, she used to date Drake for a brief period. So
very brief.
The whole thing, like the whole Samuel L. Jackson. There was messages galore in that halftime appearance. A lot of USA against Canada. The red, white, and blue. What he was wearing. He had the A necklace, and then come on. He had the whole crowd going, "A minor." That's just, but the phrase of "you're too ghetto." I think it was very difficult for the kind of artist that Kendrick Lamar is on that stage because the pace is different. You have to censor. Like there's a couple of songs he sang last night that didn't hit home because he had to censor them. So they didn't pop. Not like us.
I was about to say,
not like us can't be censored.
It didn't pop because he.
But it's
the audio,
the pace is different. The audio was rough.
Was terrible.
And you're a solo hip hop guy, okay? A solo rapper, and that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
But I would. I know there were all kinds of hot takes about the halftime performance. The audio sucked. I kind of wanted more. Maybe I expected too much. I liked it. His stadium show is completely different from there, but he's the first solo guy to do that show.
Yeah.
That's still pretty damn impressive. I'm more interested in what the diehard Kendrick Lamar fans thought of his performance, not the, my elderly, not I'm elderly, but older dad,
sure,
living in Boca Raton that texts me and he goes, "That was interesting." And I said, "Good or bad?" And he goes, "I recognized a song or two."
Yeah.
And I said, "Two?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Your Chiefs aren't very good." I said, "Dad."
Who does he root for?
He used to be a Chiefs fan, but I think he was trolling me.
Gotcha. Couple of thoughts on the Kendrick thing. I'm not claiming to be a diehard Kendrick Lamar fan. Okay. We've talked about it. I like his music.
I celebrate his entire catalog.
He's incredible. He's super talented. But it just didn't hit. It just didn't hit. It just didn't resonate. The audio was bad. It was hard to hear him. I give him a ton of credit for moving as much as he was moving. He was getting a full workout in and he was still singing. And typically when artists do that, they get a little bit of a break. Like they bring in another artist for a little bit and they get to catch their breath and then they hit it hard the second act. Like that didn't happen. They didn't allow him to do that. Maybe if they did, it would have been a little bit better. I think there was a little bit too much hype on the Not Like Us part where you kind of were like, you were just waiting for that. Like everyone was waiting for that A minor type note where everything kind of just fell mute, where maybe if they just did Not Like Us right away, maybe you get it out of the way and then you have them, it builds up and then you go the rest of the way. I just think that I don't know, just he played some hits. He could have played more hits, I think, or more recognizable songs, but
but most of it, the thing, like most of his like really good songs are like 6-7 minutes.
I know. We talked about that.
So it's just that because of your time restraints, I think rap is tough to do.
I agree.
And he still pulled it off. He's getting lambasted, but again, probably you maybe didn't know who Kendrick Lamar was going in, so you're like, wow, this is going to be awful. I don't recognize anything. I don't get how the whole diss with Drake, y'all talking about that. I don't understand. Why is Samuel L. Jackson out there? There was a lot of messaging. The thing about the Super Bowl, and this kind of slides into the commercials, which, I thought the whole Super Bowl was bad. My team played awful. unless you're an Eagles fan, you're disagreeing. I thought the whole thing was really just didn't pop. And I thought the commercials, first, I've said this for the longest time. I think we lack creativity in that world. We don't think outside of the box. Now, there was a lot of female empowerment.
Yeah.
But I also thought that kind of where we're at in this country right now, there were a lot of uncomfortable commercials. So you're going to have to learn how to be uncomfortable right now in this country. And I thought there were plenty of commercials that made you feel uncomfortable. I wanted more of the cul-de-sac popping.
Yeah.
Those are the commercials I wanted.
That was great.
Yeah.
But
The
we just
cul-de-sac was great.
got some commercials that were intended to make you think, but then you lost what the message was. And then we had to put up with the fact that the best way to ruin a sandwich is to put mayo on it.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. The Harry
Loser
Met Sally.
Hellmann's.
The Harry Met Sally commercial was great. You know you're lacking creativity in that world where you have two different commercials with flying facial hair. I mean, there was two separate
I was afraid
commercials
for what was going to fly
with
next.
flying facial
We
hair.
had dancing tongues.
I mean, oh my God, I can't do the body. When are they going to realize that body parts are just not a way to sell things? Like, it's just disgusting. I don't
If
even
you were
remember.
hammered watching that?
I mean, what? I don't even know what the dancing tongue
Yeah.
was for.
That's where they failed.
Exactly.
Dentist?
I don't even remember what the product was.
Okay, let's do this real quick.
Sure.
What's a commercial you remember and you remember what the brand is for?
Chat GPT. I remember the Chat GPT commercial because I thought it was the one with the dots, like with the making different pictures and stuff like
That
that.
was
I thought
messing
that
with
was
me.
really cool. It kind of messed with me a little bit, like visually, like with my eyes. But I remember I go like it stuck with me. Chat GPT.
Okay.
The cul-de-sac, because you know right away Bud Light laughs.
And they had kind of already shown that entire commercial. Okay. Seal. People like the Seal commercial, but do you know what it was for?
No.
Mountain Dew,
Oh, the
some
seal.
weird
Oh.
flavor.
Oh.
Seal, the singer.
Yeah. No, I
Who,
don't.
Kiss from
who
a
was
Rose.
a seal.
I don't remember.
It was for
Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
One of their fancy
There are
pants.
some products
tropical
though.
flavors.
There was the coffee mate commercial.
Wouldn't you agree that there are some commercials or some brands that don't need a Super Bowl commercial?
Yeah, like Budweiser came back,
That was cool.
but
Horse walks into a bar. That was a sick one.
I mean,
I like that.
but you're right. Maybe
Shout out
Budweiser,
horses.
maybe Budweiser doesn't need a commercial, but they've gotten through some bad PR and now they're starting to make a comeback.
Yeah.
And you had Shane Gillis and Post Malone together.
But I'm not going to buy Little Caesars pizza because
You should never
this
buy
again.
Little Caesars pizza.
exactly.
You
Like,
can get
they
a
don't-
cheese one there.
They
though.
should have some self-awareness that I am not more or less likely to buy your product because I see you on the Super Bowl. I'm more or less likely to buy your product because your product is good. Not because they're just so
But
in the crapper.
They're the pizza of the NFL.
The pizza.
You know who had a good night in terms of commercials?
Who had a good night?
Anybody that's ever been on Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Was
Great
the,
call.
Was
Yeah,
the whole
great call.
was
Yeah.
everybody that's been on that show was in
yeah.
a commercial last
Except
night?
Chris Elliott. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no rolling shit.
My mother loves that lady. Mora.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
I know what
forgot.
you mean.
No, that's like her favorite actress, Catherine O'Hara. And then like my mom will just be like doing the dishes, and then she'll be like, like she'll start doing the
Yeah.
accent and stuff. Like I can't do it. I'm not going to embarrass myself over the radio trying to do it. Schitt's Creek, yeah, that was a good one. I'm trying to think of more. I love the Lilo and Stitch. The Lilo and Stitch
I'm with
commercial was
you.
great. I
But-
just love that. I just love but I love Lilo
But
and
we-
Stitch.
I love Stitch as well.
The one that, because I love that world,
I got to look at my list.
is the Rocket. So it's the Rocket Money.
Yes. Oh,
And-
I thought of
and
you
then-
right away. By the
Hey,
way.
and then what did it do? Fox comes back,
Oh
and
yes.
the entire
Yes.
Superdome is singing.
Yes. West
That was-
Virginia.
That was pretty. I mean, I was like, wow. I want to know the backstory of what it was like. I got questions for people that were inside of the Superdome yesterday. Not only halftime, but like that commercial, like what was being shown on the video boards
to get him singing.
that when they come out of that break and it's the commercial, it's the last break, it's the last commercial of that break, you slide right back into the Superdome and Fox lets it go
Yeah.
that the fans are singing the song. Like, is this Does Fox have some skin with Rocket?
So that's what I thought. I immediately thought, like, did they have a plan where it's like, oh, was this an accident where they just happened to be playing the song and then the commercial came? Like, is this like the perfect molding for Rocket Money? And then they're like, oh, the Rocket Money moment. I'm like, that's very creative, actually, to like have the in-stadium experience planned with the television broadcast. I just realized another one of my favorite commercials, Monday Lights. That was a great one too. Beer had a great night. Beer had a great night.
Shout out Beer.
Yeah, my your mower has a smoker? No, my smoker has a mower. That was a great line.
Great concept too.
I love the cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
I love that.
So
Shout out Miller Lite. They didn't show up yesterday.
They didn't need a commercial.
They didn't
It's
need
just
it, yeah.
Miller Lite.
I'll
They have
drink-
you.
You're right,
Hey.
Jimmy. I'll drink it no matter what.
Mhm.
They don't need a
I'll
commercial.
drink one with
hey,
you.
the other thing, and I don't know what the pricing is. Man, some of our local commercials. Talk about lack of creativity.
Telling you that
Oh.
Fairway didn't get you.
Did you go to the bathroom
the
during
Fairway mascot is Mean Joe Green.
Did you go to the bathroom during the Angel Soft commercial? That was a good one too.
No, because I was like, I'm a quick peer,
Yeah.
but I mean, 30 seconds is not enough.
So I left
Who
it.
can go to the bathroom in 30 seconds?
I think I did it, but I left the couch at 21. So I didn't get back in time, but I think I had the 9 seconds that I wasn't like, if I
Yeah.
went right away at 30, that would have been tough though. I wonder how many people had a success rate.
You're
with
not
that
done
30
yet.
seconds.
It's
No,
all over
you-
your
Hey,
pants.
I'm at a point in my life that I want to enjoy that. Okay, I don't want to.
You don't get,
Now I'm a quick one. Okay, I don't have as many.
there's only a
early mo-
finite amount
I-
of peas that we take in our lifetime.
You're not
I
Jimmy
have to-
Dugan.
No, I mean it's not like I'm back in my drinking days when I'd get up on the morning and I could pee for like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
and it'd be a steady, strong stream.
Porcelain chipping off of
Jeez, that's some
the
good
toilet
pee.
bowl.
But now, the times that you get up in the middle of the night, now those are a little bit quicker because I'm into the bathroom, I'm out, I probably don't even open my eyes. I can pee now in my house without turning on the lights because I just have a sense,
Yeah.
and then I have a listen. But like I don't want to rush it. I want to enjoy it. Like it's a moment of
Clarity.
It's a moment of zen when I can have one hand on my phone and the other hand,
Oh, well, there, kind of hovering around it.
scratching my ear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was interesting. That was an interesting turn that took there. Just the breakdown of Gary Sharp and how he goes to the
I'm
bathroom.
going to have a urologist getting a hold of me. I don't think, sir.
I sense an endorsement.
I don't think that's how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, I don't really have a routine. I kind of just go in and do the business. I walk back out. I sit back on the couch, and there's not really a whole thought process or feng shui that goes into me.
I don't know. Your
getting
middle
rid
of the
me on
night
my
one.
bodily fluids.
It kind of hits home because that was me a few hours ago.
Like here's another thing. It's Monday after the Super Bowl. How many commercials you are like, oh man, I hope they keep running that because I want to see it. The Dun Kings is a memorable one.
I didn't like that one.
I thought it
but-
was terrible.
But why? Because you don't like the hustle of Belichick's.
I like
24-year-old
all of
girlfriend?
them.
I appreciate her hustle.
I
The fact that she got into that commercial.
I love that.
And she had a good weekend. She wore the Atlanta Falcons World Champions
saw
T-shirt.
that. That's a great one.
What
That's
third
classic.
world country did they go to that she could pick that T-shirt up?
Missouri.
She had the Super Bowl rings on.
The NFL.
I think they're in
honors,
love. I think they're in love.
Yeah.
I would be. Hey, shout out the University of Wyoming.
Yes, that was
Whoa,
a smart move.
What
by
a
them.
win for the little guys, man. Like, go out there, get a Super Bowl commercial. I want to go to Wyoming now. I think there are little boys and little girls across the country who saw that commercial yesterday and they go, you know what? I want to be a cowboy.
And that was during the local block, right? So they were showing those to Omaha because
no,
they were sandwiched between local ads.
no,
So I think,
Were they?
yeah,
I
which
thought
is
that
still
was national.
because we were
they
talking
too
about
national?
that. We
'Cause they
thought it
aired
was
it
national.
twice.
So if
I
it was
thought
local,
it was
I think
national.
it's
When I
national.
watched it, I thought it was
think it's
national.
national.
I think it was a national.
Either
commercial.
way, it's brilliant.
I mean,
No
once
matter which
Josh
one.
Allen wins the MVP, hey, shout out Craig Bull, who
Mhm.
recruited Josh Allen to Laramie.
It all comes back
Are
to
Have you ever been to
Nebraska.
Wyoming?
I've never been to Wyoming. No, I have not discovered that part of the country.
Covered games there.
I've done football and basketball in Laramie, and it blows me away how small Laramie is. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
But like you stay in a hotel that is across the street from War Memorial. Like when Nebraska played out there there were a lot of people in Western Nebraska that went and had a good time. And
Capacity
you're
is no
thinking,
more than
why
30.
is Nebraska playing? Yeah, it's like a 30,000 seat stadium.
They can get loud.
But the basketball arena is like a dome.
Oh,
And you like walk in and you walk straight down. It's underground.
okay.
Seats 11,005.
Yeah.
I got to get out to that. Like, I have to go to a South Dakota State game and a North Dakota State game and a Wyoming game.
Just step
'cause.
outside. It feels
Just
like
'cause.
this.
Just because, like,
No, you don't.
I like football, and
No, you
I
don't.
like, why not?
Oh, you
Those
want to
are-
go watch football?
Oh,
I thought
football.
I
Oh,
thought you
yeah,
were gonna go with
football.
a
I thought
basketball.
basketball.
No, not basketball. I want to go to a football.
I'm sure Fargo and Brookings look much different during the summer.
I was about to say, no, I'm not going out there in the cold. You kidding me?
You got to get the
Oh,
experience.
thanks.
No,
Thanks. That's where I'll be Thursday night.
I'd have to be paid to do that. I mean, I'm not. I am not.
I'm doing it for free this year.
Dang.
I'll pull this leg and it plays Jingle Bells. But I'm pretty sure the Wyoming commercial was national.
Good for them, man. Have you seen that before, where a college does like a fully blown Super Bowl national ad,
Mm-mm.
like shells out that
Did
type
Texas
of money?
Tech do something
No, they
in one of the
should.
Super Bowls
They will if they haven't.
about Tommy Tuberville coaching Mahomes?
Mhm.
You really like that. You haven't gotten off that.
I really
You-
thought Spike Dykes recruited him.
I need Andy Reid to go back to coaching Patrick Mahomes. I need him to work on the offensive line and find me an explosive running back in the offseason. That's what I need.
Okay, now we're kind of going through the phases of grief right now with you, because you're kind of going opposite wise, because you started off the show with acceptance. You've kind of accepted
Oh,
the
yeah.
fact that they lost and it was a bad game, but now we're going in reverse. Now you're getting to bargaining. Now you're bargaining with Andy Reid and the Chiefs, being like, well, you have to add this and you have to add that and you have to start coaching him in this manner. Then I feel like by the 9:30. By the 8 o'clock hour, you're going to get to anger. You're going to start getting really mad about the game.
No, I think what'll be fascinating. First of all, the NFL, which there is no offseason because the combine is in
Right.
2 weeks.
Crazy.
I mean, football is football. Started to dive deep into Farmageddon in week 0. I'm thinking about the opening weekend. I've already thought Detroit and Philadelphia would be a great Thursday night game.
I think it's going to be Chicago, Philadelphia. That'd be great.
The NFL calendar, March is going to be wild. There are a lot of competitive teams that have a lot of money on the
Yes.
cap.
Yes.
The month of March is going to be absolutely bonkers in the NFL.
There's going to be a lot of big quarterback decisions to
Mhm.
be made as well. I mean,
Yeah.
so Jets made the decision yesterday. Rodgers isn't coming back, but Atlanta's got to decide what they're going to do with Kirk Cousins. Minnesota has to decide what they are going to do with Sam Darnold.
I think I will be seeing Sam Darnold twice next year when he's playing for the Raiders.
So that's, and then we got to figure out, like, it's going to be interesting to see after the combine and the interviews and everything like that, what the diagnosis is on, like, where's Shador going to go? Where is Cam Ward going to go? Who's the number 1? Who's the number 2? What type of prospects are people looking at? Like,
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating what is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. And then you get into the draft, and then there's that little bit of a 2-3 month break. But then all of a sudden, like, we're in June and July,
Yeah.
and like we're into OTAs and we're into training camp. Like,
On the field, it's the longest offseason, but the NFL never stops.
No.
Tennessee, don't overthink it. Abdul Carter is your guy. Take him number 1 overall.
wow. I think they'll take Travis Hunter, because I think it's more for Tennessee, especially too. I think it's more than just about getting the best player. I think it's also about the jersey sales. I think it's also about the hype. I think it's also about the attention. I think it's also about the story. Him winning the Heisman.
You don't think that
Like-
Jeffrey Simmons does that?
No, but don't you think there's more buzz when you draft Travis Hunter as opposed to drafting
I would be
Abdul
livid
Carter?
if I was a Titan fan, and that's why they're drafting Travis Hunter.
I think that's a factor. But also Travis Hunter, though, if he's going to play both sides of the ball. And that's like the thing with Hunter, too, as an NFL prospect. Like, he's so great, and he won the Heisman because he played both sides of the ball. So if you're going to draft him
But
in
I
the
don't-
NFL,
I think, though,
he's got to play both sides if you're gonna take him with that pick.
I think he'll play both sides, but I think wide receiver wise, maybe about 10 snaps a game on
Yeah.
that side of the ball.
Because he's not the number 1 wide receiver or number 1 corner. Now, he's not like the number 10 corner or number 10 wide receiver, and he just happens to be this great prospect. He's still respectable in that regard. No, Abdul Carter's great. We'll see what happens. This is a weird draft in the aspect that like the combine and what happens to those interviews and who falls in love with who is going to really determine what this draft is going to look like. Because I talked about it with you off the air. I was watching the Super Bowl Media Day and they were doing on the ticker their mock drafts and no one was in alignment. Nobody knew where there wasn't a consensus number one overall pick. Everyone knew what type of position each team wanted. There was no like, oh, I saw this guy go multiple times to this team over and over again. So we'll see. I mean, the NFL has cultivated their schedule and their grasp on the media in a way where they're never out of the mind of the viewer or listener or whatever. Yeah. They are always on your mind, and good for them. I mean, that's how you do it.
Now, it's a copycat league, and so people look at how Philadelphia constructed their roster, and they do it on the offensive line and defensive line. This is a good defensive line depth draft. Like there's a lot of good defensive linemen that you don't necessarily have to get in the first round. So be curious to see if teams, instead of hating the Eagles and the Chiefs, they've tried to emulate what Kansas City does. If now they try and emulate how Philadelphia has built the roster. One thing about Philadelphia is geared to like, here we go. I mean, twice in the Super Bowl the last 3 years. They've got another Super Bowl. It's not like they're losing people. Now, Sirianni has proven you lose your coordinators, which he did after the last Super Bowl. They can get back there. He's going to have to replace his OC. But for the most part, outside of Brandon Graham retiring, everybody else is going to come back. It's just the whole, can you do it again? And I think the NFC might be more manageable to get back than the AFC will next year.
Did we ever find out what happened to that team last year? Did we ever
Philadelphia? I think there's a lot of locker room stuff.
Yeah. I don't think we ever really found out what happened in that locker room, but something happened. And even kind of Jason Kelce, after that whole, after him retiring and everything, he was a little shaded about, he didn't really reveal a whole lot, but it was clear that there was something going on. Because it's funny. Now, don't get me wrong. Adding Saquon is one of the best free agent pickups in NFL history, and they added him to that roster. And outside of Saquon, though, there's a lot of the same people on that team. And so it's still so interesting to me that team, for the most part, is pretty much the same as it was last year.
Yeah.
And they collapsed the way that they did.
Coach Landstrom, who is the head football coach at Mount Michael, he says, thanks for the shout out this morning. He said, no school after the Super Bowl is definitely one of the many reasons to attend Mount Michael. He goes, Chiefs will be back. He goes, thanks for the, hold on here. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
My old little Twitter here stopped. He says, thanks for the positivity this morning. How about that?
Making an impact.
That is wild. I mean, kudos, but I did not know that was a thing. That is anywhere else in this city.
I don't know.
You get Monday after the Super Bowl off.
That's awesome. We had to fight for it. I had to knock on doors and sell raffle tickets in order to get my Monday of the Super Bowl off. The fact that Mount Michael's just nah, have fun, have a good time.
Dang.
Party it up, hang out, sleep in. Good for them. Good for those kids.
There you go. Yeah, recruiting tool.
You want to sleep in on the Monday after the Super Bowl? You know where you go?
Hey, you want to come to a football school?
Go to Mount Michael.
We're making strides. You know what? We take football seriously. We want you to watch all football.
We want you to study the game, right? We want you to really soak in the Super Bowl. We really want you to understand what's going on. And so in doing that, you don't have to go to bed early. You get Monday off.
All you kids, you know what? Check your iPads on Monday. There'll be breakdown of the Super Bowl from Coach Landstrom.
Your Tuesday assignment, give me 3 things each team needed to do better in order to win this game.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk a little local football. I had a chance to talk to Rocco yesterday.
Yes.
Very, very impressive. Rocco Spindler was on the Average Joe Sports Show podcast. Plus, Mike Eckler is here. Someone else going to Tennessee.
Oh.
Plus, we'll talk some hoops. 5 weeks from today, will we have a bracket in front of us for the first time ever that has Omaha, Nebraska, and Creighton in the bracket?
That'd be glorious.
And if it does, don't go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Come on, Governor.
Shut down the state.
It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, AEF Academy is one of the fastest growing youth basketball programs in the Omaha area. wondering, AEF. That's right. Attitude, effort, focus. 3 core values that are instilled in every athlete to become impact players both on the court and in their communities. AEF has competitive teams, camps, and valuable instruction opportunities for players at all levels. Fantastic coaches that are paid, trained, and dedicated to helping you become the complete athlete. Plus, they're always looking for great coaches. You can check them out today at aefacademy.com, where they develop great athletes and even better humans. And don't forget, they have their spring-summer team tryouts that are coming up. 2nd grade through 17 under boys and girls teams. You can check out the schedule online at aefacademy.com. Professionally structured, the evaluation process during the tryouts, they're going to give you an objective insight for team placement where they're going to target specific individual player needs. AEF takes care of everything from on and off the floor for your son or daughter. Again, check them out online at aefacademy.com. They got a great facility located at 99th and Portal Road in Papillion, 3 hardwood courts. It is the way to take your game to the next level. And you want to take your game to the next level? How about this? Go to the website right now, aefacademy.com. Not only check out information on the tryouts, and you can become part of the spring and summer teams for AEF, but Stephen Ashworth, you've heard about him. Night. He might be showing you how to do that move with his clinic coming up at AEF on Monday, February 17th, 1 week from today. You want to learn from Stephen Ashworth how to shoot the 3 or go night? He'll be at AEF Academy, the Stephen Ashworth Clinic, coming up 1 week from today. All of that and much more online right now at aefacademy.com. I hope the kids that watched Kendrick Lamar in the Super Bowl yesterday understand how sweet a car the Buick Grand National is. That is a banger of a vehicle. That was the machine of the 80s. Now, for kids out there, you cannot put as many people into the Buick Grand National that Kendrick Lamar started standing on the hood as we're coming out of the car. Just know that probably you could get 7 to 8 nice and snug in there.
9 would be a tight squeeze in
Yeah.
the Buick Grand National.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was part of the allure of the Buick Grand National, that you could have 45 people in that car at once.
It's the Madden Cruiser.
Yeah. I was like, wow, look at this clown car. That's also sick.
People kept coming out.
They just kept shooting
Where
out
are
the
they
door.
sitting?
I'm like, it got to a point though where there were too many people like coming out of that car, where it almost became a joke at that point, where it's like they got more in there, and then you
Sounds
stop
like
listening.
the Fox set.
Then this happens. You stop listening to the music, and then you start thinking, so is there like an elevator that goes up that's right under the, how did they get that stage? Is there a whole compartment that they build that throws
Staircase
you up the
next.
Grand National, and then you got to shoot out? Like, how big is the stage? Does this affect the turf when they're going to play, when they come back out on the field? You start thinking of all that. All of a sudden, Kendrick
Rusty's
Lamar,
still in the
he's on his
Navy.
3rd song now. You don't even appreciate. You're just thinking about how did they get so many people out of this Buick Grand National?
We were talking off air about the audio. They did not mix the audio very well. They also screwed up. They showed him on top of the car before they turned the lights out. Yeah, like
You saw the car being set up during the post-game
and
show.
then Fox showed Kendrick Lamar getting set before they turned the lights out. Come on. I mean, I don't know if we'll have time to talk about the Jimmy Johnson AI piece that they had, that I thought Jimmy had died.
That's what I thought.
I was kind of
too.
disturbed, and then I thought he was retiring. Why was John Hamm introducing the Chiefs to come on the field?
Thank you.
Of
He's not
all-
a fan, right?
He went to the University of Missouri. He's a St. Louis
Yeah.
guy.
I was going to
There are
say,
so
Paul
many-
Rudd's
there-
right there.
There are so many Kansas City, Paul Rudd, for example, that you
Riggle.
could have used, but they used John Hamm, who sounded like he'd been out all night the night before as he was announcing. Fox leaned so much into the celebrities. I don't want celebrities. I want the average Joe and Jane that's a diehard fan that you have no idea. I want Sherry from Shawnee Mission, and I want Bobby from Delco, and people go, "Oh, you're not a Philadelphia guy because you live in the burbs." I want them introducing the teams.
I've been telling you for weeks now, John. This is the best team in the league. Best team in the league. Hey, how does Eric Stone Street feel this morning?
There's another one.
Watching John Hamm introduce the
I know.
team. What?
Should have known.
Eric Stone Street would cut off his left leg in order to be able to introduce the Kansas City Chiefs running onto the field.
Well, if he
for
gets
a Super
diabetes
Bowl.
one day.
And it was St. Louis John Hamm. That was ridiculous. I didn't get it either. And also, too,
Loyal fan of the greatest show on turf.
Why do we need celebrities introducing them to begin with? You know
Exactly.
it's the team. You know they're coming out. We've been doing this song and dance for we know. We just get to the game.
Here's
Get to the game.
here's
Stop
something.
with the vignettes and the packages and the hoopla. Like, we already have so much of that already.
Let's
Thank
just go back to individual introductions. The Patriots robbed us of that in 01.
I think we jumped the shark. Remember?
Oh yeah, now we got to cram more crap into.
But you remember the COVID Super Bowl where they had the hologram of Vince Lombardi?
Yes, I do remember this. I do
Yeah,
remember this.
That was kind of creepy.
But that was
Then the
almost
Weeknd
the
said,
the
"Hold
one
my
that was
beer."
the ultimate worst one was right before the Cincinnati Bengals and LA Rams played each other. They just brought on The Rock,
yeah,
and
I know.
the Rock just cut like a promo.
What did
That's true.
And then-
what The Rock spend? Maybe $25 on his Super Bowl commercial for his
25,
league.
$50. Yeah.
That was terrible. That was terrible. I don't know.
Shout out Adrian.
Yeah.
They just need to condense it. Let's just shave it. Let's
just kick it off at two
Here's
again.
what I'm thinking. Let's
Go back
spice
to
up
the
the
old
score
days.
bug. Let's spice up the score bug, but then let's lower everything else. Let's spice it up
Simple.
and then make it more simple.
Imagine that.
Thank you.
Talk about making things more complicated. John Baptiste with the and the home and the land of the free.
hey,
and
there's
the
some
land of the
people
free.
got
And
There
mad.
the
are,
land
there
of
are
the
people that are
free.
going to buy him a beer that he doubled down. Oh, he tripled down.
So what do they? So it was under. He was going to be comfortably under. I was
Yeah.
timing it. and
Not judging. I want to do the same thing.
and timed it, and then he hit the land of the free, and then he did it again, and then he did it again, and I'm thinking, because Lee Sterling, who comes onto the show,
Mhm.
said that they had to pay out both sides with Reba McEntire because she repeated a
screwed it
line
up.
on accident. She screwed it up. Do they do that again with Batiste, or was it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's part of the song.
No.
I would have loved to have been at a party where someone's screaming already, cussing at the TV. What's wrong? Oh,
Yeah, I lost on the coin flip.
oh.
I lost in the 60 minutes of football. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry.
Rick says,
I can't compare my loss to
Rick
your
says, in regards to the Fox broadcast, if the score bug wasn't bad enough, what the hell was this? What was the green screen setup that they'd have Burkhart and Brady in front of? And it was Bourbon Street. But what threw me off was the rainwater that was on the street that was part of their backdrop. And they must have loved that in a production meeting because they kept going back to it to have them in front of that. It was just the broadcast was boring. Okay.
NBC will
It
do
just-
better next year.
I hope so. All right.
Tony.
Coming up in an hour, Evan Bland stops by. We'll talk some Nebraska baseball, which kicks off later this week. Also, Jacob Bigelow will stop by. When we come back, I got to know Rocco Spindler yesterday.
Yeah.
And y'all are going to get to know his family. They have basically a bus that his dad, who played in the NFL, has been in radio, is going to come and tailgate.
Nice.
Like wants a lot of people to tailgate with the Spindlers.
Heck yeah.
Once the season starts.
That sounds like a great reality show.
But Rocco made a purchase when he got to Lincoln that will warm the cockles of many. Tell you about that when we come back on Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone.
This basketball season, oh yes, we're moving on. When your favorite star scores buckets, we're alley-ooping you an opportunity to win money from watching sports with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play now in your state, which is our state, right here in the great state of Nebraska. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, like points, assists, rebounds, more. You've got the idea. You can play with as little as $1. I did. I still won. And if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge in the basketball state. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at the NBA because the NBA made me some money over the weekend. Thank you, association, and shout out Hubie Brown. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. When you make your first deposit, join in all the fun when you sign up with promo code ZONE. Claim your special offer today. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org.
By the way, a lot of news drops during the Super Bowl yesterday. The Dallas Mavericks keep taking L's. They had a major Super Bowl news dump on Anthony Davis being out for an extended period of time that they dropped during the Super Bowl. Jeez.
And then Mark Cuban now is making his rounds and going on talking to Bill Gates. That was just such a random clip to find in the lead up to the Super Bowl. Just Mark Cuban telling Bill Gates, if you traded a Microsoft 11 for a Microsoft 10, how would you feel?
And how about Antonio Gates?
How about him?
Oh, you hate to see it. Poor Mavericks. Poor Dallas.
Anthony Davis was playing well, and then he goes down. Now he's going to be out for an extended period of time.
Anthony Davis was playing like a MVP caliber guy in the season before he has gone down with these injuries. It's always the hamstring.
The Rockets have lost 6 straight. Great times in Texas.
Mike Eckler dropped a tweet to say thank you to Tennessee.
Saw that
during the Super Bowl. He said, "Thank you, Vol Nation, players and staff. It's been an amazing 4 years filled with incredible memories. My family doesn't have words to express our gratitude. I'm proud of the incredible specialists and OLB rooms we built for a bright future Vol football." Hundred, Mike and Barbie. Now Mike Eckler is coming back to Nebraska as a special teams coach. Wouldn't it be wild if Mike Eckler comes to Lincoln and Bill Busch goes to Tennessee?
That would be wild.
Would that be the trade? Is that the trade?
Hey, it'd be a fine trade.
Bill Busch to Tennessee?
Mike
Eckler takes over on the ticket?
No, I don't know about that.
That's a trade.
But be a good situation. Bill Busch is the experiences that I've had with Bill Busch. He is a ball of energy, a really good guy, very nice. It was always a treat. The couple of times where he had pressers that the media could go to and we can ask him questions, it was always a treat to be there and talk to him and ask him questions. He'd always walk into the pressers like he was an 8th grade biology teacher. He goes, "Hey, everybody, how we doing? How we doing? Having a good day?" And like, you'd be like, "Hey, Sipple, how you doing?"
You can tell, like, guys in that business that are good storytellers, usually are pretty good recruiters. And Mike Eckler's a good recruiter. Bill Busch is a good recruiter. I would think that, and I'm just throwing this out there, that it'd be wild to Mike Eckler to move to Lincoln and Bill Busch move to Knoxville.
You think they just trade houses?
It's just cheaper, easier.
Hey, it would be. I'm sure that Bill wants to get back into coaching, but it's got to be the right opportunity. And he's a big family guy, and he loves being back in Nebraska. But that would be be a job that would make maybe a little bit more sense than Nebraska.
Yeah, well,
because of your connection to, recruiting in that conference. They're looking for. I think what they're turning that job into, that Eckler is leaving, is just a special teams only.
Yeah,
but
he was in the SEC before he came to Nebraska. He was at LSU. I mean, it's a conference that it's not like he's uncomfortable with at any degree. It's just something he could do. And he's a special teams coach. Like, the energy that he brings and the excitement that he brings and the type of just football mind that he has, like, special teams is a good spot for him. And that would be a really, really good job for him. And I think it'd be a really good hire for Tennessee, frankly.
I had a chance to talk to Rocco Spindler yesterday. I highly advise all of you that enjoy some live shows from 10:30 to whenever we decide to end on Sundays on YouTube, on the Average Joe Sports Show podcast. Yesterday, Rocco Spindler just made a appearance.
What was that?
He has moved to Lincoln, so it's a whirlwind. He had to pack up the U-Haul in Michigan and get moved to Lincoln. He has moved into Lincoln.
Wow.
He is going to take graduate classes. He also, in his move to Lincoln, purchased quite a bit of vintage Nebraska gear. So he told us yesterday he is an offensive lineman through and through. He's got a dog, an English bulldog. He asked if anybody out there knows great spots for pheasant hunting. He wants to go pheasant hunting.
That's awesome.
He looks like an offensive lineman. He talks like an offensive lineman. But he bought a couple $1,000s worth of vintage Nebraska gear.
That's awesome.
When he got here. So doing this podcast yesterday, he shows up and he's got a 97 Champions hat on. And then he's got like an old school pullover, like a sweatshirt.
Like
pullover.
A Champions like pullover?
Yeah.
Those are sick.
And
I bought one of those.
I'm like,
the one you were wearing the other day.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
exactly like that. I'm going to tell you something right now. Rocco, thousands of dollars of vintage gear, that'll go pretty far.
So,
That'll go
so
pretty
the
far.
the whole fam is all in. His dad, who played in the NFL and is, his commentator, he's a media, sports talk radio and he covers the Lions. They're all in on the whole Nebraska experience. I can tell, like, talking to him yesterday, he is they are fans of college football. Like, they appreciate the nostalgia and everything else that goes into what a Saturday in college football is like. And I mean, hell, you go from playing at Notre Dame to an iconic stadium to Memorial Stadium to playing at an iconic stadium. But a couple of things he said. One, it kind of sounded like Notre Dame had not necessarily recruited over him, but they wanted to transition so they could open a spot for somebody. The parting was not like, oh my God, I hate Marcus Freeman. He said it was actually pretty good. So once he went into the portal, Nebraska wasn't on his radar. And then Nebraska popped up.
Yeah.
And he knew of Nebraska, but he didn't know like Rhule and Raiola right away.
He didn't have a previous connection with them, or it wasn't something that he was looking at.
The only time, the only connection that he really had to Nebraska is that picture that he tweeted out. We asked him, and he said, yeah, when it all went down and he committed to Nebraska, his mom remembered that friends of his dad had sent them Nebraska gear for his son, and they put him in that little pullover when he was like 3 years old. His mom went back and found that picture, so that was part of his tweet. So he said he was not looking for a paycheck. Now, he's getting paid, but that was not his number one goal. He wanted some comfortability. He wanted a place where, because he's pursuing his master's, he wanted a place where he could play, where he felt comfortable. And so through the whole process, coming to Nebraska and then the other places he went to, he kept coming back to Nebraska. He fell in love with Rhule because he said Rhule just kept it really simple. They didn't gloss over anything. They didn't like try and sell him. They were just like, this is what we need. This is how we see you. This is what we do here. We want you. And then he spoke very highly of Donovan Raiola in the brief time that he's gotten to know him, getting into offensive line play. But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
So Rocco, the portal worked for him because he did his homework. And he kind of had a plan of what he was looking for. Again, he reiterated, not looking for a paycheck, but he had a plan. And he did his research. So he actually vetted Donovan Raiola with his offensive line coach with Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because offensive line coach at Notre Dame knew Donovan Raiola from the time with the Bears. So he asked a lot of questions. And the Notre Dame offensive line coach, Harry Hestad, glowing remarks towards Donovan Raiola. So Rocco said he had that going in. And as they sat down and they talked about offensive line play and roles and stuff, he said Nebraska was the place for me. Now, he would like to be a captain. Doesn't necessarily mean he's not a captain. He's not a leader.
Sure.
But that's one of his goals. And that's some high aspirations when you're a new guy and nobody knows you and you're coming in a little bit late. But he also said because I asked him, okay, you have played both guards at Notre Dame. Some of it, he's been moved because of injury. He knows tackle, but he loves playing guard. And I said, are you locked into right guard? Have they said, are you locked into right guard? Because Sipple was the first to bring it up that possibly Lutovsky could learn how to play tackle in the spring. And he said, I don't mind playing either guard spot. He goes, it's just, I start, the majority of my time at Notre Dame, I was playing right guard. He did say this, though. He said, I did ask during the whole process if they will allow me to learn how to snap. Like if I can learn and practice snapping after practice every day, I would like to learn how to play center as well. But he's going to be your right guard, and people are going to fall in love with him. He's very mature. He's got, I think his mindset is not, hey, I'm going to use Nebraska to get the NFL. I think he's coming here with the mindset, I just came from a program that's got a great culture, that we learned how to win there, and I can come in here and some of the things that I learned at Notre Dame, I can bring to Nebraska with the guys I'm going to be around, and hopefully that'll be beneficial to all of us. But I was blown away.
Would you
the
say
portal the portal worked for him? The portal was built for a guy like Rocco Spindler, who Notre Dame didn't necessarily want to process out, but it was time.
Yeah.
And he found a home and he did his research and he didn't just jump at the first offer. He compared different schools, and everything that Nebraska offered is exactly what he wanted. And I said to him, do you think that it made Nebraska look better that you didn't take Nebraska's offer when you were here? You kept your options open. And he basically said yes, because I could compare Nebraska to other schools I was at or other schools that were trying to get in touch with me.
Real quickly, question for you. Like, it's one of those things where now that we're in the NIL era, this is like a trait that some guys have. What I hear, and I want to know if you agree with this or you catch on to this, he sounds just like he's a football player.
Yep.
He just sounds like he just wants to play football. It's not necessarily about what's the next thing, what's the next paycheck, what's the next bag. He wants to come in, he wants a spot, he wants to have comfortability, and he wants to play football, and he wants to win. And like, you need guys like that. I mean, and it's a shame that nowadays, because of the era of college football that we're in and the mindset that a lot of people have and the mindset that people around people who are making those decisions have, it's a shame that's a rare trait. But when you can get guys like that into a program, that's how you start getting wins. That's how you start getting dudes.
I think what he learned at Notre Dame, playing offensive line and then winning, will go a long way. I was really, really impressed. I think people, as they get to know him, are going to be like, man, this is a home run. This is the kind of guy that shouldn't be a portal guy at Nebraska, but should be like a 2-3 year starter type guy with that mentality and that skill set. All right, 2 in the books. Evan Bland coming up in the next hour on Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone. All right, Evan Bland coming up in about 30 minutes. You know, a lot of people crap on ESPN. ESPN had a good weekend. They honored Dick Vitale coming back, who Dick Vitale elevated college basketball on ESPN.
Big time.
But there are a lot of people on ESPN, like on their game day show, that hate college basketball for some reason. Then you had Randy Moss coming back.
Yep.
I mean, beat cancer. That was, by the way, that commercial at the beginning of the Super Bowl yesterday with the kid, knock out cancer.
I must have missed it.
Great.
That was good.
Great spot. But Randy Moss comes back yesterday, super emotional, which was, I mean, he was grateful. He's glad to be back. And then, if you didn't watch it or not, 91-year-old Hubie Brown, that was his last game yesterday.
Still better than a lot of the people they have analyzing games today.
Is. So they put up a stat, and they did so many
Especially
great
that
tributes to him and people that he's worked with. I mean, Mike Breen had trouble keeping it together.
Yes. And that last sign off when they were together,
Yeah.
I saw that. And then right away, it wasn't as if he was going along in that sign off and he was breaking out. The first words come out of his mouth and he's already choked up doing it. It was incredible.
There was a stat that 80% of the players that have played basketball have either been coached or have had a game broadcast by Hubie Brown.
That is crazy.
91 years old. But
he's still really good, though. That's the thing. I mean, he
could still do it.
I know.
I mean, I get why I get that, but still. The point is, Hubie forever.
But kudos to ESPN because, you know, they've got Lee Corso, which they have to make a decision on. And they've handled Lee Corso fairly well. You know,
they put him in some compromising spots sometimes.
But they've lessened those times.
Yes.
So they did a really good job with their tributes to Dick Vitale and Hubie Brown. I mean, that kind of stuff they did well. So you know that they'll probably do something with Corso. I would be shocked if Corso came back, if he had another year of game day.
I think.
But they've done other tributes to him on air that are really, really good, that don't involve AI-generated Jimmy Johnson stuff.
What the hell was that? All of it. I thought it was, is he dying or something? What happened?
Well,
I
thought it was weird to put him in that spot because I think he's retiring.
Right.
And, you know, that's just like, you know, I think Travis Kelce is retiring, but he's not going to do it on the night of the Super Bowl, announce it. And especially with the Eagles winning. I think that's classy. You're not going to take away from the Eagles. I think his time is done. I don't, you know,
he looked reflective, even when the game was still close. He looked.
And Jesus, he had to put the Bee Gees outfit back on after a loss. That would suck.
He did look like a late 70s basketball coach.
But like, you know, they've done tributes to Lee Corso, but he hasn't retired. Jimmy Johnson, they must have not have told him that was coming. I mean, Jimmy Johnson's had an unbelievable career, and it was kind of cool because I didn't remember all the stuff like pre-Miami, but they came, so they finish it, and it's
they
kind of disturbing. They come to him, and he's in tears. Like, they didn't give him a heads up. And I was waiting for him to go, that's it. I'm out, guys.
Going back to the Cowboys.
It was kind of awkward.
Isn't it? I don't know. Do they really tell you we want you to retire, or do they just make a tribute for you? And they're like, okay, here you go. Now's your time. Now's your time to leave. I don't know. It was a little awkward. It was cool though. It was kind of random though. Like, wouldn't you think though, Jimmy Johnson would deserve hey, this is going to be Jimmy's last regular season game, or this is going to be Jimmy's last time on the desk with the guys, or hey, like, wouldn't it be cool to like do it, like have him have an actual, hey, we're going to give you a camera one. We're going to put that like, hasn't that guy deserved that to be like, hey, my football life is kind of done now. I'm not going to be in the media. I'm not going to be, I mean, Jimmy Johnson has been around the game of football. He's been a constant in the game of football for the last, 4 or 5 decades. Like, we're at the point where if that guy has done anything, he deserves his own one shot, 2.5 minute, thank you so much for everything, I'll see you later type deal, as opposed to just, then you're right, it's the Super Bowl. He's not going to retire. He's not going to take the attention away from what's happening. But at the same time, like, if this was something that was going on or something that they were planning, I feel like he deserves not a full season farewell tour, but just one moment like that.
Best thing that happened to that show is that Terry Bradshaw retires.
Yes.
I think Jimmy Johnson still adds something, but
I agree.
CBS made the transition to move away from Boomer and Phil Simms and add new voices. Fox desperately needs new voices on that set. I mean, they probably need like 3 or 4 more people to sit on the set, but they definitely need some new voices.
But they do a lazy job, I think, though, of vetting people at Fox. Like they just go ahead and they just add guys. Oh, you're retired? Oh, here you go. Here's a spot. Oh, Matt Ryan. Oh, Drew Brees. Oh, Gronkowski. Oh, Edelman. Oh, you guys are done. Okay, here, just sit on. Oh, Tom Brady. Tom Brady, you've never done a broadcast in your entire life. You don't have any sort of experience. Here you go. Here's $370 million in the top spot in all of broadcasting as a color commentator. There you go. They do a terrible job of making sure these people are ready to go. I'm sorry. I've just watched a full half of football, and I'm sitting down there. I'm not really paying that much attention to what Rob Gronkowski thinks about what's going on in the game and what the Eagles need to do.
Look, Gronk was going to punch someone.
But, like, Gronk cannot build a brand of being this dumb idiot on all these advertising and all these commercials and all these podcasts and whatnot, and then go in front of a microphone, and I can credibly just sit down and be like, oh, yeah, you definitely, yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not. You're right. I'm not listening to Rob Gronkowski. Like the only one really on that set, like Strahan and Howie Long, and I like Kurt Menefee.
Easy.
I think Kurt Menefee is a good point guard.
Me too.
All right, some emails here to sift through. We got Evan Bland and Jacob Bigelow still to come. Chris says discussion we had earlier about staying at home to watch sports these days. He said someone could have offered me free tickets to that game, and I would not have driven the 50 miles down the road to fight the crowd, the traffic, everything. It's just way better watching at home. Second thought, there was only one good commercial.
No.
Matt Damon, David Beckham.
Yes.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
And it was at the end, which as the game became a snooze fest, you're like, man, there's some advertisers that paid a lot of money to be late in the game, thinking we could have a Mahomes comeback.
It's always close.
That was pretty good. I will give a thumbs up to that commercial.
Do you think the early game advertising is more expensive than the late game advertising, or is it
good question.
Is it all slotted? Is it just all, hey, 30 seconds is this price here, buy it, there you go. You got to pay for your own production.
I would imagine just like in radio on this show and other shows that the placement at a particular time maybe is a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I wonder what placements, though, would be considered prime Super Bowl and what placements would be considered, like maybe the first time out.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the main ones right before halftime.
Right before halftime. Mm-hmm. Maybe right after, but like during halftime and right after halftime have to be lower price, right? Because people are just either going to the bathroom, getting a drink, eating their food, or watching the halftime performance. It's interesting.
Charles writes in about Cam Jurgens, who was a Super Bowl champion, along with Mathis and Gates.
Yeah. O'Shawn
Mathis. Your favorite O'Shawn Mathis moment?
When he got a lot of pressures against the Iowa.
That was at the end of his career.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I think was the first big NIL guy that you could say,
yes.
I don't know that Nebraska got the return on investment, but he did have a good game that day.
There's a lot of hype when he came in.
Is moving Cam Jurgens to center the best decision Scott Frost made at Nebraska?
There aren't too many to compete with. Probably. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Probably.
Cam was reluctant to move to center. And Frost told him that he could be the next Dave Remington. Kind of threw that around. Hey, Adrian will be a Heisman Trophy guy.
Yeah.
But he threw, you could be the next Dave Remington, which, when you're a Nebraska kid, you at least know who the pride of Omaha South is and what he did at Nebraska, and he's got an award named after him. He was reluctant. He was reluctant initially to move to center because he never played center before. But it did turn out to benefit Cam Jurgens. The relationship, though, one of the frostier moments is when Cam announced that he was leaving school. There was there ever a, hey, we appreciate what you did?
Yeah.
That was not a good parting. But,
good for him, man. It worked out.
Doug writes in, off of Andrew's call. This is an email back a little bit ago. The first 2 penalties were the correct calls, especially live. They were not egregious. Thank you.
The first penalty was a penalty. I got into a fight in a group chat about it. The defender's neck went all the way up. His neck fully extended. Like that is PI. You're impeding his ability to get to the ball.
If they would have called face mask, I asked Andrew that. If they would have called face mask, would people have been less triggered?
McDuffie fell because he got hit.
But at the time, people thought the game was going to be rigged. And where are you today? If the game was rigged, I wouldn't be disappointed this morning.
I just love how there was an equally bad call, and then everyone goes, "All right, we're even. We're done. No more complaining."
And that was a bad call.
That was a way worse call.
Yeah.
The first penalty was an actual A.J. Brown actually hit McDuffie and caused him to fall. That penalty against the Eagles, or for the Eagles against the Chiefs, was terrible. He barely even hit him in the head.
I agree with Andrew that the Big Ten is overrated, but you need to let it play out in the tournament. Alternatively, the Big East is not good this year as well. Maybe all the conferences are down except the SEC.
Good for Florida.
I don't believe Nebraska's in yet, as their non-conference was very weak. I think they're in as an 11. I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
And Creighton is currently way underseeded in most brackets. They don't get enough credit for their non-conference schedule. Well,
they lost.
There's a time in Vegas in which most Creighton fans thought the streak of going to the NCAA tournament was going to be over, so stop. FYI, they beat Purdue. FYI, that's what it's called as an exhibition. Thank you. Creighton, by the way, won 9 straight. They have covered in 9 straight games.
Heck yeah.
Do you know programs that don't talk about culture? You know what they have?
What do they have?
Good culture. Expected culture. You put on the uniform, you play in this program, there's a high expectation of you. You don't ever have to talk about culture. Places that have bad culture, talk about culture all the time. Yeah. Places that have fantastic culture, they don't need to talk about it. They don't need to beat you over the head. You know why? Because it's just expected when you sign on the dotted line to play basketball there or football there, and that's what you do on a daily basis. It's not just during the season, it's the off season. You don't talk about the C word. People that have bad culture talk about it all the time in businesses and sports teams. People that don't have to talk about it, you don't worry about it.
People,
that came up this weekend. Man, that culture at Creighton, it saved them. Hey, well, yeah, you lean on your things. I think also makers ever in the history of the Big East, and you have an incredible coach that you lean on. I know he deferred in the postgame, was talking about his staff, and that's what Mac does. He's really good. He's a really good basketball coach.
Very small adjustments at the end of that game with 6 minutes left. Marquette makes that run, and they found a lot of success getting into the paint and realizing that Kalkbrenner wasn't going out to guard his guy. So they would go to the paint, and then they would yo-yo it out, right? Yeah. And then they'd either swing or they'd just take a shot, and that's how they got in their run. I don't know if something was said to Kalkbrenner, but he stopped crashing into the paint, and he started going out to his guy in the three-point line. Marquette could no longer get the ball out to the three-point line, and Creighton just basically said, all right, come on, like layups, like try and score on us, in the paint, and we're going to clear the boards because we're longer and we're bigger and we're going to be more physical than you. It was a great adjustment, and it's part of the reason they won that game and made that run at the end of the game to seal it. And Stephen Ashworth, I can watch that guy play all day. I mean, he's awesome.
I give him his last, what is he? His last 8 games, he's 27 of 60. Now, people try and beat him up, but you got to be able to go at him for 40 minutes if you're going to just like beat him up, be physical with him.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like if he hits a 3 and you're guarding him and he goes with the Steph Curry night, do you ever recover from that? Like, I have a lot of questions. Like, have we ever had a NFL football coach lose a press conference and win a Super Bowl title until yesterday? And
that's a great point.
Have we had anybody ever give up a 3 and a sneaky athletic guard gives you the night
lunch pail type of guy?
Like, do you ever come back from that?
No.
Should you just give up basketball? Should you leave your sneakers in the middle of the floor?
Stephen Ashworth is the epitome of, if I stop shooting, you know there's a problem. He was 3 of 26 from 3-point range his last couple of games. He was 6 of 9 against Marquette. Shooters shoot. He shot them. He made them. Him passing the ball, it freaks everybody out in that stadium. Anytime that Stephen Ashworth launches a long pass down the court, there's just like a gasp from everybody, like, oh no, oh no, oh no. Then it just lands perfectly in the hands of Neal or Kalkbrenner, whoever, and they just go up for a layup. I mean, it was Shout out the CHI Health Center too. That was a good crowd they had for that Creighton Marquette game.
Oh, that's right. You were there.
It was a really really good crowd. They were into it. They were amped. They were loud. It was legit.
It'll be on a different level tomorrow night when UConn is here.
Crazy tomorrow night.
I'll give you a nugget. I mean, don't overthink it. Mac can praise his assistant coaches, and unless you're a Creighton fan, you probably don't know who they are. Like Darren DeVries hasn't been there for a while. Another guy went to High Point, went to the NCAA tournament. You know, I mean, the coaching tree is pretty good. I'd work for Mac trying to get a head coaching job, but Mac's he's really, really good. I'll give you a stat here. Last 11 games, Creighton is 13th best in this category according to Torvik. What do you think it is? Last 11 games, which they've won 9 in a row.
2-point shooting percentage.
Would be a good guess. Defense. Over the last 11 games, Creighton is the 13th best team in the country in defense, which for 4 years they've had the greatest impact on defense that Creighton University has ever had. Sorry, Benoit Benjamin, in Kalkbrenner, because their top 4 defenses of all time under Mac have been under Cal.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make a comparison here to Creighton basketball and Omaha hockey. You ready?
Give it to me.
So Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to be the most difficult guy to replace in college basketball next year. I'm on record as saying that. It's not Cooper Flagg. It's not Broom.
They're going to completely have to change the way they have to play basketball in order to win games when he's gone.
But we have 2 guys that live in this city. One does a commercial. Actually, he's a really good actor. That influences games and can single-handedly change the course of a game. One plays basketball at Creighton. The other is the goaltender for Omaha, Simon Licozzi, who had 50 saves on Saturday night. They swept Minnesota Duluth, but he's like Kalkbrenner, like one guy. Like in that sport, a guy can stand on his head between the pipes and change everything. And just like when they made the run to the Frozen Four and Ryan Massa got on a hell of a run, like a goalie can carry you, but in terms of like an individual that can change everything, like those 2 guys are, you change completely your game plan when you're defending or going, or 11's coming at you. And then when Simon, I mean, you figure, Jesus, are we going to score? How many goals are going to take for us to win tonight? Because that guy is going to stop everything.
There's nothing more demoralizing in hockey than when you were getting opportunities and you were getting great shots on net and that, nope, save, not today. Kalkbrenner, I mean, the ultimate 2-way college player. I mean, what he can do on both ends of the floor is absolutely astonishing. And like what you talked about, like they play around him. And when he's not there next year, it's going to be really, really tough don't get me wrong. Coach McDermott is going to figure out a way to play defense without Ryan Kalkbrenner. But when you've been playing this style of defense for the last couple of seasons and it's been incumbent upon one guy, and now that one guy is gone, that's really, really hard to recover from.
One other thing from Doug here. He goes, I don't hate Shaka that much anymore. He was pretty cool after the game in the press conference. I did hear his quotes about Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, and yes, maybe you won't have to see Shaka Smart very much longer unless you're a Big Ten fan.
Oh.
Why is he not on the list at Indiana?
He should be.
Here's another one. He should be, probably is not, but it would tell me that there's a smart athletic director at Indiana. I would call Omaha, Nebraska. You're probably going to be told no, but think about it. If you're Indiana, you have access to a lot of money. Why wouldn't you, as an athletic director, go, man, that guy in Omaha that coaches Creighton, I know he's been there for 15 years, but you know what? This is the Big Ten. Let's just call him. Let's just reach out to his people. That would show me that the athletic director at Indiana is thinking, because Shaka Smart is kind of intriguing. TJ Otzelberger is kind of intriguing. They're not going to get Dusty May, but it would not happen. But it would be like, you know what? If I'm looking at a coach and I like an offense that's going to be attractive with the cash that we could offer and the brand, I don't know. Why wouldn't you make a call?
If there was a job opening in all of college basketball that's considered to be a blue blood or a program that has more tradition than Creighton, why would you not call? Even if you're told no, why would you not call to see if there's interest there?
I'd call Omaha before I'd call South Bend.
Oh, yeah. 1,000,000%.
And
I'd call Omaha before before almost anywhere. I mean, what he's done and what he's accomplished, absolutely.
Iowa JD says Fran is very intriguing in Indiana.
Tradition every year.
That's funny. That's a good one.
All right, when we come back, speaking of coaches, there's a guy that in February does really, really well that deserves a ton of credit for Nebraska basketball winning 4 in a row and being on the right side of the cut line.
Come on, baby.
5 weeks from today.
Andrew didn't even want to talk about it. That's how you know it's going well. Andrew didn't even bring it up.
Yeah. The only thing that was not going well is, college basketball trying to put games in a 2-hour window, and the Turkish maniac may be out for a while.
Yeah.
That did not look good yesterday.
Ugly.
Worst timing, too, because now you play Maryland. You got to give up some fouls against Maryland.
And he's also been playing better, too.
Best game yesterday. He actually got on the floor again. He got a floor burn.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe they'll give him some more NIL money. We'll talk some Husker hoops when we come back. We'll talk a lot of stuff with Evan Bland and that Bigelow guy.
Yeah.
We will debate
that Bigelow guy.
Should you take out a player that automatically gets 2 fouls in the first half? Looking at you, Juwan Gary.
It is a raging debate.
So many people were triggered. They're like, what are you doing, Hoiberg? And then they look at Gary in the second half and they're like, oh, he's fresh.
Yeah.
It's Gary and
he's
Matt.
Well rested.
With Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, I am responding to a lot of people that are Chief fans and not Chief fans. Sometimes, very simple, talent wins. Okay, it's amazing that the Chiefs got to the Super Bowl for the third straight year, and especially this year with the tackle situation. So thank you. But it's sometimes you overcomplicate it. Talent wins.
You called it.
Talent wins.
You called it. I mean, we went 3 for 3, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we all said that the Eagles were going to win, and they closed. So I checked right before. They did close as an underdog. The Chiefs were a 1.5 favorite right before kickoff.
Yeah, that never changed. I thought it would.
It went down a point.
Flip.
It went down a point, and I thought it might get to pick them. I didn't think the Eagles were going to be favorites heading into the game, but that still stayed at -1.5 for Kansas City. Was curious, but look, we were talking about it. If DeAndre Hopkins catches that ball, I still think the Philadelphia Eagles win. I still think it was very clear that they were the more talented team, and they had control of that game, and they had a hell of a game plan on both sides of the ball. But if Hopkins catches that ball, he had nothing but green grass ahead of him. And I just wonder, instead of punting the ball later, if they could get down there and they can score, it would have made it a competitive game, and you would have had momentum on your side, despite the fact that I've never heard a more lopsided Super Bowl in my life, though. I mean, everyone from Philly made it out there. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it sounded like at times a Philadelphia home game.
That's like the one with the Patriots, the first one in Jacksonville. They took over Jacksonville. That's what they do. And I don't mean any shade by that.
Didn't you get that from Fox? Like, they were a little eerily like, what the heck, And then they pan out and you saw all the green.
Yeah, the Chiefs reporters I follow on Twitter said when the Chiefs first came out to start to warm up, the boos were pretty prevalent. I mean, they booed Taylor Swift. Do they not know that she's one of them?
Was she from? She's from Philly?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Diehard Randall Cunningham fan.
Yeah, but I mean,
still pissed at Rich Kotite.
I mean, it comes down. It simply comes down to this:
Taylor Swift grew up with a Tommy McDonald jersey.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, where do your loyalties fall? In the house that he grew up in, or the person you're sleeping with?
Sex always wins.
True.
Team Travis here
for the win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to answer that question.
It's always undefeated.
I don't need to answer. Well, I mean, I respect you. Got to respect Kylie Kelsey.
No. Sometimes it can deliver some major L's.
Well, yeah.
What, sex?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's called a vice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those weird things start floating around, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta follow this squirrel."
Just gotta stop.
And the next thing you know, you take a big L, and the next thing you know, you got a lawyer. You got a lawyer calling you. Next thing you know,
I'm like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do if I got there.
18 years later, you're working as a firefighter, and somebody walks in and goes, "Dad,"
or a radio host.
I don't know. No,
18 years.
That would
18 years. And on the 18th birthday, found out it wasn't his.
Bam! Thank you.
He's on the roll today.
Woo, 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 woo!
Driving off in a Sunday.
All right. The morning of January 17th, I came into the show and I said Nebraska basketball is cooked, done, out. Put the toe tag on them.
You were wrong.
I can't wait for Mason McConaughey to pitch 16 no-hitters to make up for Nebraska basketball crap in the bed.
I can't wait for Jordy Ball to go on a revolutionary run with Nebraska softball. That's what you were saying 3 weeks ago.
But Big Ten does not suck in basketball. The Big Ten sucks in softball. Nebraska, UCLA, I'll see you in the championship.
Yeah, good point.
They don't have they still have a conference tournament. Okay, so I was wrong. January 17th, I came in here and I said they were cooked. I texted a Nebraska assistant. I said, "Ooh, didn't like the body language last night. Looks really, really bad." That particular assistant took 2 days to read my text. And then he responds and he said, "We got some things to work on." And I said, "Aight."
A-I-G-H-T?
Aight. K.
I said, "Aight." And this is one of Fred's assistants who I really, really like and have gotten to know. And he's been pretty honest with me. But that's all he said. Now, I'm going to text him this morning and say kudos. But there needs to be some kudos here. They've won 4 in a row. They have gotten hot at the right time because the bubble sucks. The bubble is bad. So Nebraska has come back to life. They took a 6-game siesta. You ever heard that?
I've never taken a 6-game siesta, but my mother and father have taken 6-day fiestas.
Yeah, I mean, that's people don't use the word siesta very much
Siestas.
anymore. We always say, hey, I'm going to take a nap.
Yeah.
Not since Texas history.
Nebraska basketball took a 6-game siesta.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, weirdly, they've turned it around. I know Bryce is getting a lot of love. All Big Ten, please. But we do have to recognize that Fred Hoiberg pulled the parking brake and has saved Nebraska's season because he went from, I want this to be a player-led team, to not so fast. Not you, Cam Mack. Not you, Teddy Allen.
Mm-hmm.
This is my team,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not going to let this happen. And he pulled the parking brake, and he got after guys. I mean, he let guys air out some feelings because part of my text was, these guys don't like each other. And they didn't. And there were some internal fighting. There was some comparing of NIL numbers of you weren't getting a return on investment. There was not accountability. He let players air what was bugging them. And then Fred took over and said, this is what we're going to do. Some of you ain't going to be playing as much. Or if you do, you know your role. And it has turned their season around where they stopped trying to be somebody they weren't, and they're being somebody they are, where at the end of the day, Nebraska basketball with a little dosage of some Sammy Hoiberg and some Bryce Williams and Juwan at times and other guys that contribute, they're built on grit and hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday was a prime example of that. And that is all on the head coach. So his record may not look great, but the man's about to take the program to the NCAA tournament for the second straight year, which hasn't happened since the 90s when Danny Nee was here, and we fell in love with Danny Nee when we bought one of his ties. I give full credit to Fred. Fred has turned this season around that they're probably, what do you think, 3 wins away from lockdown time to go to March?
If they beat Maryland, it's just at that point, hold on to the wheel, like you got it, like you're good. Just like balance it out. And, I would love to have been a fly on the wall for that come to Jesus meeting. I would have loved to have sat there and just seen that all go down and then see how Fred galvanized the troops. But one thing is, that S has hit the wall when you can tell how a coach feels about certain players with where they're playing in certain situations in certain minutes and whatnot. And you could tell that he was done. Fred was done playing I wonder if this will work. I wonder if this will work. No. I got 6 guys. I have Hoiberg, I got Williams, I got Gary, I got Wooster, I got Esijan, I got Buchtengel. Okay? Those are the 6. We're going to play. Yeah. We're going to win. And then, when we need some help, Andrew Morgan, come on down. When we need a little help, Aaron Eulis, Brax Camilla, you'll play spot minutes here and there. But I got my guys. This is how we're going to win. And basically, the message that I get is, you guys don't have to like each other. You just have to play for one another. And these last couple of games, they've been playing for one another. Okay? You don't have to be best friends and get along and go and get ice cream, but you have to show a certain amount of respect and understand, I'm going to play my butt off for you. You got to play your butt off for me. Those 6 games with the heads down and the lack of energy and not the rotations that you want to see and not just they were not playing the style of play that won them games.
Yeah.
And it was very clear that something bad was going on. And they figured it out. And like you said, that's all Fred Hoiberg. Because you know what? He could have packed it up and started, tried to ignore it, not address the elephant in the room, just try and keep coaching, try and saying the same messages over and over again. Yeah. The fact that he put the hammer down and said, no, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to win. We're too damn good of a team not to make the NCAA tournament. All the credit in the world.
And he got on him again yesterday at halftime.
Yeah.
I mean, they
fired up Fred.
He has a relationship with him. I mean, when the thing I've learned about Fred is he's not a constant F-bomber guy. He's not going to remind you of Greg Marshall or Larry Eustace. So
That's for sure.
But he picks and chooses his spots so that when he does it, it's more impactful. It's not every single day. So when he gets upset,
it matters.
And he peels paint, you pay attention. It's just like when your parents holler at you. Like if they don't holler at you all the time, but when they do, you're like, okay, we need some business.
It's
here.
like when Dad gets mad.
Belt came out.
But unless it's all the time. And then maybe if it's all the time, maybe you got to maybe contact the state or something like that.
It built character. I turned out okay. I mean, I have a bad temper and anger management issues, but I'm good.
Evan Bland of the World Herald will join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, we are breaking down week 0 of the 2025 college football season, debating who the NFL will send to Philadelphia on Thursday night to kick off the season. That's right, it never ends.
Yep.
Evan Bland of the World Herald joins us. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
How are you?
Doing okay. As a Bronco fan, last night's Super Bowl wasn't the worst possible outcome. So, there's always sort of a moment here. Football season's over, and now the next one starts.
Don't rile them up, Evan, because I'm the one that's got to deal with Gary if you get them all angry and mad. All right, so tread lightly, here,
Evan.
Okay,
it's okay. I mean, it's amazing that they got to 3 Super Bowls. They won 2 of them. They've got 3 in the last 6 years. Mahomes has been to 5 Super Bowls in 7 years, and he's only 29.
All right, rub it
Worthy
in,
is
rub it in,
21.
fuzzball. All right, all right.
Yeah, but our division.
I'll just tell you, my wife's parents are big Chiefs fans, and we watched the game at their house yesterday. So, you have to walk that fine line between, you're not cheering for them, but you don't want to be that instigator, like when you're a guest in someone's home as well. So, I don't know. It reminded me of Broncos Seahawks, where it just kind of felt like a funeral once you got to halftime and beyond. But hey, the commercials were good.
Lot of tongue biting from Evan Bland yesterday is what I deduced from that.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. I'm going to be around these people. I'm hoping the rest of my life. So
that's a good point.
You can't trash talk too much.
No. How do you think Cam Jurgens, when he comes back to Nebraska, will celebrate being a Super Bowl champion?
I mean, he might go home and fix a fence. He's just. I went out to his family farm when they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and talked to his parents about it. And that he does. He comes home and he works on the family farm and helps package the beef jerky that they've got going on and works out. He'll probably do a little bit of something, I'm sure. But he's such a down to earth, kind of salt of the earth sort of guy. I wouldn't be surprised if part of him's just like, man, I just kind of need to get away from it all. Why not go back to the farm and put in some work back home. But I always enjoy when he gets there. I enjoy thinking back on his position switch at Nebraska and how that came about, and how shocking in the moment that was for Scott Frost to make that decision and how it worked out is pretty cool. And I think, I was reminded, I was looking back at his beef jerky stuff this week. He's part of that very small window of players from the very beginning of the NIL era, when it really was about NIL and about how do you use your name, image, likeness to have some kind of a business. And he's continued that and grown that. And he made a reference to it, I think, in an interview last week in New Orleans about now guys just get paid, but he's I actually work to brand this thing and grow this thing. So I think that's another kind of fun little timestamp in the history of college athletics to see what he's done with that business too.
That's a great point. I watched that interview too. It really is holy crap, this thing really did change. Because if you remember, it was everybody was making a podcast and everybody was making their own clothing brand, or everyone, he made beef jerky. It was crazy. Do you think, would you say he's Scott Frost's greatest accomplishment at his tenure at being at Nebraska? Cam Jurgens' success?
Yeah, I think so. And part of the reason why is because he was convicted about that change when it was not a popular decision. Nobody was thinking about Cam Jurgens moving to offensive line. Not really. I mean, he was an accomplished tight end in high school, and he really didn't have much of a chance as a tight end at Nebraska. I mean, I think he was the number fourth on the depth chart when they made that move. And, that was back in the days when Nebraska football was doing its interviews on the second floor of Hawks in a much more informal setting. And Greg Austin, the O-line coach, comes out and just kind of drops that little nugget and says, Scott said he could see this as the second coming of Dave Remington. And everyone was like, seriously? This guy, this tight end from Beatrice could be compared to one of the best centers ever. And to see it manifest into what we saw last night, where he's, the leader of the tush push and celebrating a Super Bowl ring. What a cool validation of something that Scott Frost saw, and wow, what a payoff it's been for Cam.
So let's stick with the offensive line and the guys in 25 because they'll need a new center. I mean, Ben Scott had a nice career here, but we hardly ever talked about him.
Yeah.
But that's probably a good thing at that position. So they're going to have to find a new center. But I want to go out to left tackle. For what you saw out of Gunnar Gatula, do you mess with Gunnar Gatula? Do you say that's our left tackle starting full-time, not as a midseason replacement, but full-time in 2025 and be comfortable with that?
I would give him every chance in the spring to prove that that's the case. I mean, he came in late in that Illinois game with the injury and kind of kept the job the rest of the year in part out of necessity, but I think he did a pretty good job. Son of a coach and knows football. I think another off season of him growing his body in the weight room and nutritionally can help. And so, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting how that combination comes together, because there's sort of this assumption that it's going to be Elijah Pritchett, but he's been a right tackle for most of his college career. So you could put him on the right side. You have Spindler, who's going to be a guard. I think they'd probably prefer Letuski to stay as a guard. Justin Evans has been good, kind of in that Ben Scott mold where maybe he's a little bit undersized, but nobody talks about him like in a good way. And so, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't have Gatula start in that conversation at left tackle. And we'll have to see what Teddy Prohaska, what his health situation's like, what Turner Corcoran's health situation's like. They're factor into it as well. But I think that's one of those interesting positions where, or the offensive line at Nebraska, where the spring is going to be really important to see where guys are from a health standpoint, to figure out combinations. I think Sam Sledge is another guy that they really like as a potential center or certainly interior lineman, and that was a class 2 years ago. When you think about that 20 whatever it was, 24 class, that was really high on defense or on offensive linemen, with Grant Bricks and some other guys as well. So I think that's a position that Nebraska has acknowledged you have to grow from within. That's a position you need to recruit out of high school and develop, and you can't really count on rebuilding that thing out of the portal every year. So I think they saw a lot of good things from Gunnar Gatula. I would expect him to definitely have a say in that. I'd be surprised if he didn't.
All right, let's go to Nebraska baseball here. Season's about 4 days away now. And
Friday.
So they're returning a lot of guys, and there is the advantage of having that comfortability, right? Of everyone's going to come in, and for the most part, those guys know what their job is. They did it last season, But at the same time, there's that added pressure of, hey, we're preseason ranked. We're supposed to have a good year. This is our time. If we're ever gonna go to the College World Series, or, we could end up hosting regional. There's a lot of expectations. How have you seen Coach Will Bolt balance that comfortability of we have a good team and we're confident, but also balance that pressure too that comes with having, this veteran type roster that could do really good things this year?
Well, I think it starts with the fact that their internal expectations are the same as they've been when they've had teams that haven't been as good. 2-3 years ago, I mean, annually they want to host a regional. They're not afraid about saying that's the goal. So it's not like that suddenly becomes the mission because they have a veteran team. When they've had young teams, they've said, yeah, we want to host a regional because that's the best path to Omaha. That's if you have a good season, that's going to be one of the rewards that come from that. So I think they're comfortable speaking that into existence. I don't know that that's always true with other sports. I don't know that Nebraska football was always comfortable saying yes, we want to get to a bowl game. That's the next tangible step. I don't know that Nebraska basketball was always comfortable saying, yes, we want to win an NCAA tournament game because that's the next thing. I think baseball has normalized that so much under Will Bolt through the years that they just that's what they feel like they can do. And then you can talk about the nuance of it all and the fact that they return so many arms and that most of their lineups back and that the schedule is going to give them a chance to sort of validate and confirm who they are to people nationally. So I think all that plays into it. But when you have bigger expectations to begin with, I just think that puts them in a pretty good mental place, that they feel like that they can start with that, and they don't have to prove it to themselves either because they've done it already. They've been to a regional. They won the Big Ten tournament in front of a packed house at Charles Schwab Field last year. So this isn't sort of breaking new ground for them in terms of winning games and kind of figuring out what it takes to win. So I think they're in a pretty good spot in that way. I don't know that they feel that pressure. Now maybe that changes when you go down and you're playing Vanderbilt or you're playing LSU in a few weeks. But right now it feels like they're just kind of a team that likes to work, and they know what their goals are going to be. And it doesn't feel to this point that the moment or the expectations have been too big for them.
Yeah. And you've been around Will in the offseason. Anytime you run into him, and he's always a confident guy. I mean, he really likes this team to try and get to back-to-back regionals for the first time since 16-17. So the schedule, they loaded up the front of the schedule. I still think it's a mistake. I can't believe that the Big Ten didn't look and go, hey, Nebraska and Oregon, Indiana, they're all going to be near the top. How about we make sure that they all play each other? Nebraska really doesn't play any of the top 4 in the preseason. I mean, if we get Nebraska, Oregon, it'll be here in Omaha. But with that said, Nebraska's schedule is aggressive again. It's at the beginning, and they need to get off to a good start. But who are some guys that you think individually, whether they be on the bump or at the plate, got to get off to a quick start that'll help them throughout the entire season? Not Gabe Swanson shows up at the end of the year and we go, oh my God, where's this guy been?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mason McConaughey's obvious as the Friday guy. I think Tyner Horn as the probable Saturday guy is really interesting to me. I mean, he had a fantastic summer and fall. His high school recruiting pedigree was really high. I mean, he could have gone just about anywhere in the country. He wanted to work for Rob Childress. And so he took some lumps as a freshman, kind of learning how to pitch in college and trusting his stuff and all this. If he can take that next step and carry over the momentum from the off season into the spring, like suddenly Nebraska's got, in my opinion, just as good of a 1-2 punch as they did last year with Sears and McConaughey. So how he does on that opening weekend, likely against Vanderbilt, is going to be really fascinating to see. And then can he carry that on moving forward? Offensively, I'll be curious to see what Riley Silva does this year. Center fielder, he's a senior. Suddenly, maybe he could come back next year because of the junior college waivers that are going on across sports. But he's someone who could steal 40 bases if he put his mind to it. If he stayed healthy, defensively, he's really good as Casey Burnham and Jackson Hallmark were before him, and just kind of the ultimate table setter. And I think that's where this offense is going to have to start, is pushing the envelope on the bases, taking those extra 90 feet when you can. And then I think too, when you look at the offense, like the thing that Nebraska's been pretty decent at the last couple of years has been setting the table, but the guys that have produced the runs have been a little bit less consistent. And that's why it was such a big deal a year ago when Gabe Swanson got hot late and Josh Karen got hot late, was because they had guys that could get on, but they didn't have reliable run producers. And so can Gabe Swanson do that over the course of a full season? Can Cale Frost do what he did at South Dakota State last year and approach 15 to 20 home runs? Can Josh Overbeek take that next step, or Ty Stone? So that's the other thing I'll be looking for, is Nebraska's always had guys that can draw walks and steal bases and do that sort of thing. But can you find those guys that can drive them in? And if you do that over the course of a full season with what they have, I think in terms of depth of pitching, it's going to set up pretty well. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up Silva, like having a good start to the year. He had a great start to last season too, and so it'll be interesting to see if he can pick that up and keep going. One part, if you had to pick one part of this team that you were the most nervous about, or that might give them the most trouble, what would that be?
I think it would be if the offense can take the next step, because I'm pretty confident that the pitching is going to be deep and maybe stronger. Another year under Rob Childress is going to do that. Defensively, they've been pretty good through the years. I think they'll be a little bit better with guys settling in positionally where they are. I'll just be curious. I did this deep dive a couple weeks ago on like the profile of a regional host, and typically your top teams in college baseball have a lot of power and they're going to be able to score a lot of runs. And Nebraska was average nationally in that regard. And so when you bring back most of that lineup, is it going to be sort of a similar look, or will they be able to take a step forward because they're a year older and a year more developed. So what does that look like? Is that going to be the same group that runs that back, or are you going to see some newer guys, like I mentioned, Frost or Max Butenbach, who really dominated in the off season? So maybe that's where that comes from. But Nebraska, maybe with the exception of that 23 season when, Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson and Gabe Swanson were hitting dingers, like Nebraska just typically hasn't been that kind of team. So can they take a step forward in terms of power, in terms of just what their offense can do? We'll see. But I think if it does happen, what you're assuming is that a lot of the guys who were here last year are going to take steps forward and be something a little different than what we've seen them be.
All right, we'll get chatter on this. Let's go to Friday. We're at the beautiful Salt River Fields at Talking Stick. I mean, it's an unbelievable stadium. It's Nebraska UC Irvine. It's about 4:15 local time. Mason McConaughey has just shoved 93 pitches, 8 innings. He struck out 7, only gave up 1 run, 5 hits. Nebraska's up 2-1, but it's the opener, and they don't want to stress McConaughey. Over the PA, Wild Thing starts to play. The bullpen door opens up. Who's coming out to close games this year?
I think it's going to be Luke Broderick, the junior college transfer that they that they brought in. He was another top prospect who could have gone to a lot of places. Wanted to pitch for Rob Childress. That's kind of a theme. Yeah. But the thing with him, it'll be really interesting. I mean, I know the staff believes he can be kind of that first closer since Spencer Schwellenbach, where you just kind of, it's a no-brainer. You bring in your guy in the 9th, everyone's heartbeats slow down a little bit. You feel like, maybe he'll give up a little soft contact, but you're probably going to strike out a guy or two as well. So that's going to be another, I think, early season thing to watch for sure is Luke Broderick, the guy that he has shown himself to be at junior college and in the off season, is someone who can lock down that 9th, who's sort of matchup immune. It doesn't really matter where the opposing lineup is in the order, lefty, righty, like that's the guy that you want in there. And I think the other part of his game that they're excited about is the swing and miss stuff, where a leadoff double doesn't necessarily mean that guy's going to leave second base. So as good as Nebraska's pitching was last year, in a lot of ways they didn't miss a ton of bats. And so if someone like him, if someone like Carson Yasa, who redshirted last year, can come in and really provide some more of that swing and miss stuff, I think that's one area where Nebraska can take a step forward on that side of the ball. So I would anticipate that being Luke Broderick.
Awesome stuff. Evan, we appreciate it, and enjoy the week. We'll look forward to the previews and, of course, game coverage over the weekend.
Sounds good, guys.
That's Evan Bland of the World Herald.
Thanks,
it's also Elkhorn Mount Michael Day on the show, if you did not know. So Luke Broderick played football and baseball over at Elkhorn Mount Michael, and then kind of bet on himself. He went to Iowa Western, and he was there for 2 years, I think primarily as a starter. So that's an interesting – I mean, he's a big boy. He's 6'3", big right-hander, to start as the closer. All right.
Man, I smell the popcorn. I smell the leather. I smell the breeze. I smell the yelling.
Do you smell Nebraska in Omaha in June?
Oh, that'd be something.
Been 16-17 since Nebraska gone back-to-back in the regionals. How about that? Nebraska men's basketball go back-to-back in the NCAA tournament?
Things are turning up, man.
Hey, things are good.
Things are good.
Sports are good.
They're good.
Blue, red, black. We'll talk hoops with Biggs, Jacob Bigelow, who never would take out a guy out of a game if he got 2 fouls in the first half.
Would never do it. Never do it.
That's why Jacob has never coached. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, the basketball is good in this state.
Good.
Nebraska, Iowa tonight. Women's hoops down at PBA. No Caitlin Clark. She's stuck in a commercial for Nike during the Super Bowl.
They look. It was a good commercial.
But Nebraska Creighton women NCAA tournament. 5 weeks from today, will we get Creighton, Nebraska, Omaha men? That's to be determined. We welcome in Jacob Bigelow, who we'll get into his coaching attributes here in a moment. Call your shot 5 weeks from today with a bracket in hand when we talk. How many teams will be in the NCAA tournament that are out of the 402?
Is that total men's and women's, or just is that just the men's teams?
Whatever you're comfortable with,
Yes.
men or women.
Oh. I mean, I will go. I'll shoot for it. I'll say 5.
Nice.
Sucking up to the
yeah,
audience. My man.
I'll say 5.
You J-sker. You absolute
You know-
J-sker. You embarrassment.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm
don't.
kidding, buddy.
Yeah, that's me. That's
Hey,
me.
Hey, one other thing you're going to have in about a month, you're going to have the Big East Player of the Year. Okay?
Yeah.
You're going to have possibly the Summit League Player of the Year. I think Coach Crutchfield has locked up the Summit League Coach of the Year.
Easily.
I think Patino will probably win the Big East Coach of the Year. Will Bryce Williams be first team All Big Ten, media or coaches or both?
I think so. I was kind of beating that drum before the year. It looked like he was on the path to start the season, and then Nebraska was just in basketball purgatory for 6 games, and
We call it a
everyone-
siesta.
Yeah, they were on a nice
Yeah,
siesta.
We'll call it siesta.
They were
Yeah,
on the
everyone did.
cabanas, you know.
Yeah, they were doing some soul searching for a little while, and I think that includes their
Literally
that
and
includes
figuratively.
their literally and figuratively. I think that includes their alpha dog Bryce Williams and how he's looked in these last few, especially yesterday, the start he got off to. I think he's making a pretty strong case for at least. I mean, I think the coaches know. I think he'll be first team at least one of the two. I think.
So Gary and I were talking, and during the siesta that they took in this skid, it was very clear that there were some issues and problems going on that were more than just what was happening on the court. And then essentially, Coach Hoiberg found a way to get the troops together, to galvanize them, to get them going back on this winning streak. I think he just said, guys, you don't have to like each other, but you have to play for each other. Have you seen that improvement on the court?
I think so. I mean, just their intent. You can tell. Like, obviously, when you play basketball, you're playing with a purpose, and the purpose is to score points and it's to win the games. But I mean, just they've looked more engaged. They've looked more. There's been more intent in as on offense, especially. They're running a lot more actions. Like it's looked more. I mean, and the thing with all this is it's nothing new. It's back to how it looked at the start of the season with just a weird like a siesta as y'all are calling it, and for 6 straight games. But I mean, there's more intent. There's more purpose. They're playing with some stuff to them, and it's been pretty evident on both ends of the court. In this, now 4-game winning streak.
Okay, so what's the difference in this 4-game winning streak at the end of games? It can't be just number 3 says, you know what, I want the ball in my hands, I'm going to do something with it. What do you see that their end of game scenarios? You're a Will Riley 3 away from this not being a 4-game winning streak, but you get what I'm getting at. The end of the games, they've been better the last 4 than they were the previous 6. What's the difference?
I mean, it's the little things. I mean, just think about the end of the USC and Rutgers games where they just got out toughed, where they just got punched in the mouth. USC and Rutgers got the 50-50 balls. They had the guys that made the tough shots. They were the team that was diving on the floor for boards and doing the little extra stuff. And Nebraska's been the team that's done that in winning time in the games that have been coming down to the end. Like you said, that Will Riley 3 goes in, this is not a 4-game winning streak, and the discourse after that game would have been much different. But I mean, it's the little stuff, and that's that's what wins you games in winning time, crunch time. It's the little stuff, the rebounds, just it's not just Frank the Tank and old school saying we got to keep our composure. Like you got to do the little things. You got to do the little things too to get over the hump. When it gets down to brass tacks at the end of these games.
Hey, can you do that again?
Yeah, that was incredible.
No, one time, just one time deal on a Monday. I'm not no reason.
That just came out of nowhere too. That was because you just flipped the switch. That's great. All right, now it's hard for me to do the rest of an interview after that happened. The Huskers play Maryland on Thursday. Maryland's a good team. They picked up a pretty good win yesterday against Rutgers, which, by the way, the last 3 minutes of the game took about 45 minutes, even though we all knew that Maryland was going to win. I digress. For those who may not have been watching a lot of Maryland basketball heading into this matchup, Derek Queen poses what problems for the Huskers?
Well, with Berke Butenjel likely being sidelined, I don't think he's going to have – I think he only had – like 6 or 7 points against Nebraska the first time they played out in College Park. Him and Julian Reese were both really non-factors. And with Berke, likely sidelined, and that hasn't been, confirmed yet. But that's just based off Fred Hoiberg and what he said in the postgame availability yesterday. I mean, Derek Queen. I mean, just look at his stat line yesterday. I think it was
29, 5, and 15.
Yeah, 29, 5, and 15. That's 15 rebounds and 5 assists for the 6'10" freshman who, he could have gone anywhere in the country. He chose to, stay. I think he's an East Coast kid, go to Maryland, and he's been having one hell of a year, and I think he can do just a little bit of everything. The biggest question for Maryland was their guard play. Jacoby Gillespie, he kind of, I don't want to call it a breakout game that he had the last time he played Nebraska, but he was hitting threes, and they got what they got from their guards. But I think now the size with Queen and Reese, it'll create some interesting personnel decisions and matchups for Nebraska, given what they'll be looking like going into Thursday night.
Yeah. Well, Nebraska is streaking. The injury. I mean, not only the Turkish Devil playing well and like he did, but just that matchup, because you're going to have to give fouls. Like you're going to have an abundance of fouls. So does that transition then to the importance of a guy like Andrew Morgan against Maryland because of the size that you were just alluding to?
Absolutely, and he had a big game out there in the first game too. He was one of the bright spots in the first game against Maryland, and I think he'll definitely have a bigger importance. Fred Hoiberg yesterday said they might have to play multiple big lineups, him and Mia on the court at the same time. We'll see how that plays out, but they're going to have to find I'm interested to see the personnel that they choose to roll with. It'll be interesting.
Do you expect to see? I mean, with Butenjel out, is kind of the rotation that we've been seeing, is that completely thrown out the window, you think? Or is it still just going to be Fred's going to play 6 guys for over 30 minutes and then you'll see other guest appearances? It's just Morgan will hop into that role. Or do you think it's going to have to be a little bit more of everywhere else?
I think it'll be like it won't be it won't be like a Super Bowl commercial where it's like, hey, look, there's that guy. Like, hey, look, here's a cameo from this guy we haven't seen, and Lord only knows how long. Like it's not gonna be like that.
It's not gonna be like, oh my God, Gavin Griffiths is alive.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like the the When Harry Met Sally Mayo commercial last night. It's not gonna be like, oh, well, I remember that. I remember them. Like it's not gonna be like that. But I think it's gonna, he's gonna stick with the guys that have been getting the majority of minutes. But then inside, in the post, it's gonna be kind of. It's not gonna be throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks, but it's gonna be by committee and fouls and matchup. It'll all they played I think 7 different starting lineups now in the last X amount of the season. So they're willing to tinker with stuff, matchup dependent, and we'll see how they adjust.
I heard one of your pledges died. Is that true?
I was never that was never my this is old school again. Yeah, no, this is old school. Whoops, my brain is still not fully recovered from the weekend. No, that was unfortunate. I miss Blue. I miss Blue every day. That he was my boy for sure.
Well, I know you like avoiding your wife and kids, and you like hanging out with 19-year-old girls every day, so it's okay. Let's go back to Bryce Williams.
Yeah, let's.
Well, I mean, Love is an MFer, right?
Yeah, I guess. Ask Belichick.
Oh man.
I mean, you find that guy in your life that's you say, man, no, it's cool, man. Bring your green hat. All right, back to Bryce Williams. Let's put a little bit in context here because he's up to 19.2 a game.
Yeah.
He's on an absolute heater, so a double-double yesterday. I like that he knew time and score and he knew situation, that Nebraska was in the bonus, and that more than likely, if he penetrated off the dribble, he was going to get fouled and got to the line. Now, it's not like he was double figure at the line, but that was important. Let's put a little context here. I don't think we're going to put him on a Mount Rushmore, but in terms of, since you've been around Nebraska basketball, where does he rank in terms of just a pure scorer?
That's a good question. I mean, he's near the top for sure. I mean, one of my good friends who coached against Bryce when he was at Charlotte, he went back and found the screenshot of like what he texted me like when Bryce committed, and just how well that's aged, just in terms of like he's as pure of like he'll go get you a bucket, like one way or another he'll find a way to go make a bucket, whether it's in the inside or out. But I mean, I know you're not, I know you don't want to put him on the, the program Mount Rushmore, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But if he's, the guy on the team that, gets into a bracket and, does the one thing that hasn't been done before, he may have a strong case to, not, I don't know about Mount Rushmore all time, but be, in the discussion, when people were talking about Nebraska teams for many years to come. But he's near the top. I mean, I was around James Palmer for 3 years. I don't think he wasn't as efficient as Bryce, but he was a bucket getter. There have been a lot of guys who were bucket getters, but they were more so chuckers. So I mean, I think just based on efficiency alone, Bryce is near the top when it comes to just pure scores.
That would be a great menu item at a chicken restaurant.
Yeah, a chucker.
A chucker. You don't want a bucket getter.
Yeah.
You just want a chucker.
Let me get a chucker. What's in a chucker? It's probably like a combination of like biscuits, fried chicken, and tenders.
That sounds amazing.
So first off, by the way, before I ask you a question, Nebraska not winning an NCAA tournament game, it's not Voldemort. You can just say it, bud. All right? You don't have to do the things that's never been done before. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not trying to like get too far. I'm not trying to get ahead of anything, right? Like that's all.
That's good, man. So I got a hypothetical question for you.
Go
You have a player on your team. You're Coach Bigelow. Coach Bigelow. You have a player on your team. He's a really important part of the team. Glue guy. Gets 2 fouls.
Smart guy. He goes, Denver, the Sunshine State. Gorgeous.
And there's about there's 8 minutes left in the second half. What do? Do you put him on the pine? Do you not let him get the third foul? What are you doing there, Coach Bigelow?
See, I'm with Fred Hoiberg.
Okay.
I'm with him on it, especially if it's a guy that's as important to your team's success as Juwan Gary. I mean, they kind of had the 2 foul crew over on the bench for most of the end of the first half with him, Morgan, Berkay, and I forget there was
Raleigh was there too.
And Raleigh, yeah, they had the 2 foul boys over there on the bench to end the first half. But if it's someone that's as important as Juwan Gary, I mean, I kind of tend to view it like Fred does.
Okay, so here's another hypothetical for you. You're Coach Bigelow. You're on the sideline. The referee makes a terrible call, an egregious call, okay? And now you two are arguing about the call. And then the referee turns their back to you. What do you say when the referee turns his back to you?
I don't want to get y'all an FCC fine, so I will keep that.
I have a dump button. It's okay.
No, I'm not gonna say that out loud. I'll say I learned from the best my 3 years in the basketball program in Nebraska when it came to dealing with certain Big Ten officials. I would not be very clean. That's all I'll say.
Would you say, "Excuse me, sir, could you face me again? Can we talk about this call?"
Excuse me, Mr. Neese.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna be Oliver Twist. Please, sir, may we talk some more? Like that's not gonna be like I'm not gonna be. That's not how I'm gonna approach it with officials. if I was a coach.
Coach Bigelow.
CJ says a chucker is actually a bird. Did you guys know that?
I
Maybe.
didn't know that.
Thank you,
Yeah,
CJ.
maybe. Thanks, CJ.
I want to see what kind of a bird. Oh, yeah. It's a bird. You can hunt it in Idaho. Also very underrated line from Old School. You know when Beanie, who is always talking about how terrible the idea of marriage is, and he says to the co-ed, well, why don't you give me your number in case anything happens to my wife? That's a very underrated line. Let me present you with 3 jobs. Considering the landscape of college basketball, the tradition, which is more appealing right now, Indiana, Virginia, or Miami?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I would default to Indiana. I think Miami makes a good case, just based on the NIL, like the changing, what are all the corny cliches? The changing landscape of college athletics and the focus on NIL. I think that gives Miami a really strong case. But if you want to talk about you ready to hear some things that sound eerily similar to the football program in Lincoln? Tradition, fan support, history, just waiting to, revitalize a dormant program that hasn't won much in the last 20 years. These all sound really similar, right? There's a lot of similarities between the two for sure, but I would put Indiana at the top of that list.
All right. Well, hey, we appreciate it today. Would you like to just go back and forth on Old School stuff? This is how we debate.
Yeah, I don't know about that going forward. I mean, I'm sure that was the last reference you expected me to make today, but after the weekend I had, I'm shocked I'm still awake. So we're just taking it one minute at a time.
I know. I mean,
our man gets around.
He does.
What did that press conference answer? Just taking it 1 minute at a time. We don't have a crystal ball.
Hey, Bigelow, just ring the effing bell, you pansy. Hey, how was Fort Collins? How was Moby Arena?
Fort Collins was great. It's always nice to get back out there. Great college town. I haven't been to a game at Moby in a while, but big thank you to the staff at CSU for showing me some hospitality. They got a couple guys on that staff that have local ties, and it was good to be around on a game day. Go shoot around, walk through, and then a really cool atmosphere and a much needed win for them to bounce back and beat San Diego State on Saturday night.
That
was a good time, good trip.
That is fantastic. Hey, looking forward to all your stuff this week. You're my boy, Bigelow.
Hey, I'll take that tagline. I appreciate the time. I don't know how I'd feel about you're not going to see me have a heart attack after any type of wrestling match, but I'll take that line going forward. I appreciate the time like always, guys. Have a good rest of the show.
If I died, would you sing "Dust in the Wind"?
I could make that happen. Yeah,
we can arrange it.
I could do it.
We can get that done. We can figure it out.
That's in the karaoke song rotation. Flashback to the last couple weeks. So that would be I could do that for you.
He's been karaoke a lot too.
Wow, it's impossible for me to listen to that song in the same way ever again after Old School. All right. Have a good have a good
guys.
week. Yeah. I mean, this conversation on Mondays, once it hits your lips, it's so good. You get a little Bigelow in you.
Everybody needs a little Bigelow in them.
I should have said earmuffs before I said, yeah.
Little bit of bigs.
Yeah.
Or a lot of bit of bigs. Or just some bigs. Not too much bigs.
A couple of things here. The Chuckers, yes, are a minor league team.
Oh, okay.
They're in the Pioneer League, which is no longer affiliated with Major League Baseball. They are the Idaho Falls Chuckers.
Okay.
So this is a little bird.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if this bird is worth your time, but it's they are named the Chuckers, the Idaho Falls Chuckers.
Doesn't Chuckers sound like
thank you, Mailman
an
Todd.
old school Southern America type of like chicken place? Like a type of chicken place, like they only have them in like 8 states.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God, you've been to Chuckers, but not like it's not like In-N-Out. It's more closer to like the Waffle House type of like exclusivity. Like Chuckers isn't exclusive because it's like great and they only want to keep it there. It's just some people happen just to love Chuckers, and it's just in the South.
Charlie is their mascot. Charlie Chucker.
Charlie, is it a cool logo?
That's
His
okay.
friends calls him Chaz.
It's okay. It's not
Because I
it's
feel like
not
for
a
minor
gr-
league baseball,
it's not a great logo.
No, it's not.
No.
You got to have. Look at these. Oh, that's a cool logo. The Billings Mustangs.
Yes.
That's a really good logo. Look at this. Great Falls Voyagers. That's another really.
That's
good
when the
logo.
Pioneer League used to exist as Rookie League Baseball. Helena had a team. Beautiful area out there. Boise was in that league. They were the
Yeah.
Cubs affiliate, but then minor league baseball and Major League Baseball got together and they changed things. Joey writes in to the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. And yes, Doug owns a bank. About Bryce. So 19.2 points per game. I think he's in line to be all Big Ten,
Yeah, I agree.
especially after the siesta is over.
Yes.
Joey says, best pure score I've seen in Nebraska since Tyronn Lue. When you need a bucket, he goes and gets you a bucket.
I think right now Bryce has had some consistency problems. And it wasn't even dating back just to this year. There were last year too. He had some consistency problems, and there were moments. I always think back to the Minnesota game where they were away in Minnesota. They were winning by a lot. It was falling apart, and Bryce tried taking over that game and getting the bucket and trying to put everything on ice, and he couldn't do it. And I think that
Was that his first month that he'd been here?
yeah, basically,
That
and
was-
he had to
God,
learn,
that was
and
brutal.
it was good for him that Rink was there and Casey was there and they were other options for him. And now this year he's kind of launched into that alpha role, and you especially saw that he had the ability to launch in that alpha role. And don't get me wrong, right now he can get a bucket whenever he wants to get a bucket. And during that Diamond Head Classic and earlier in the year, he could get a bucket when he wanted to get a bucket. But during that 6-game stretch, I don't know if he was injured. I don't know what was going on, but it was clear that something wasn't there. And so at his peak, absolutely couldn't agree more. But we cannot deny there has been some consistency issues.
No.
What?
I can't listen to the song anymore. I got very, I got emotional
I thought you were like
about Blue.
ardently disagreeing with everything. I
Oh,
just
no,
said
no,
there.
no. I'm with you.
Okay.
With you. That Minnesota game was awful.
It was
That was
tough to watch.
so that was like Hoiberg's in trouble. When they
Yeah.
got beat at Minnesota.
Yeah. And they were
Yeah.
up, what, 17? Like, ugh.
Why are we
It's
doing
always
this?
weird.
I'm
Fred
surprised,
Morgan-
I'm surprised this song wasn't in some commercial, the uncomfortable Super Bowl commercials that aired yesterday.
You'd like something a little more peppy. We can change
Dust
that.
in the wind.
There.
That's a good one.
There, this is one for people can sing along to this one.
Until Cyndi Lauper hops in here. Matt, you'll be loving this.
We the Young Bucks right now?
Or Cyndi Lauper.
Wait, do it with me, Gare. Right here. Right here. No? Come on, Nick Jackson. Come on.
No, that's okay.
Right there.
No, I save it for when my cul-de-sac is popping.
My smoker's got a mower.
Doc, I got a problem. My cul-de-sac is popping. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. What is more surprising yesterday? That Philadelphia never blitzed, or that yesterday was the first time a Texas Longhorn had scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
Ever?
Yep.
Philadelphia not blitzing.
Jimmy?
Gonna have to go with no blitz because you think you have to blitz the hell out of Mahomes, and they did not.
Against that offensive line too, that has been a good offensive line that, no, not great, but has been, good enough. Like,
You're
to
being
do
very
that.
generous, but continue
No,
on.
I am. Like, for them to get as much pressure as they did
But you think you'll
and
get their
never
best
blitz.
performance.
Like, never. They were pressuring at their peak. They were pressuring him 52% of the time on his dropbacks, meaning 1 out of every 2 times Mahomes went to go and pass the ball, he had someone breathing down his neck. And you never sent an extra guy. You only ran with 4 the entire time. Yeah. That's crazy. That's insane.
I'll be different here. I'll say that it has taken until Super Bowl 59 that a Texas Longhorn had scored a touchdown.
That's crazy.
I mean, if Keith Cash had just made the Super Bowl, they used to throw him all the time.
Trying to think, like, who should have scored a touchdown, like, from.
See, Roy Williams never made the Super
Peter
Bowl.
Gardier,
That's where I
Colt McCoy,
Butch had not.
Butch Hadnot, yes. Priest Holmes.
So are you? I mean,
Long live the BMW.
are you
backfield.
on to? Or how quickly are you on?
I'm on to
baseball
everybody
right
is
now?
0-0 right now.
Like, how quickly are you on to baseball? Like, are you
I've
going to
convinced
take
myself that the Cubs are going to win 91 games. I did that about the third quarter yesterday when I was looking at
the Pacoda?
I was looking at the
8:15.
non-roster invites to see if there'd be anybody that could, break camp with the Cubs.
How bad of a Super Bowl does it have to be that you, while your team is in there, you start looking at the Pacodas and the fan graphs and everything and the 40-man roster? Like, how badly does your team have to be beat that during the game you're looking at, like, very arbitrary baseball stats to update yourself on your baseball
See,
season?
the Super Bowls when we were younger, that's
yeah.
not such a weird thing. That's
They were
Well,
blowouts back then. At one point during the Super Bowl yesterday, I responded to the group fantasy baseball invite. I'm in a very aggressive.
I was going to say,
competitive
if
fantasy baseball
there was
league.
anyone that I would know that would be in a high stakes fantasy
So-
baseball league, it'd be Gary Sharp.
So I did respond to the email that went out during the Super Bowl yesterday. Yes, I did do that.
I got into
Already
an
doing your
argument with my
research.
friend over. We're planning a trip, and I got into an argument with my friend yesterday over text about I wasn't being efficient enough in communicating. He was like,
Wow.
I'm really annoyed that everyone else is efficiently communicating with me except for you, and started listing off the things that I wasn't communicating
Wow.
properly about.
Sounds like a bad marriage.
Oh, we got into a fight, so much so that I left the group chat. I go,
Wow.
screw this. I'm not going.
Millennials these days.
I go,
Matt
no,
has
Gen
left
Z.
the chat.
I go, you know what? I'm not going to Nashville. You want to go to Nashville? Have everybody communicate with you efficiently. And then 3 texts came in. Hey, is everything good between you and this guy? What happened?
Nashville will bring you guys all back together.
And then
the
we
right
figured
way.
it out. So I'm going to Nashville.
Yeah, you're gonna have a blast.
Dave also adds,
Go Preds.
on the heels of Worthy being the first Texas Longhorn to score in the Super Bowl, he said, I also saw where Devontae Smith was the first Alabama player to score in the Super Bowl. If true, that is crazy that it took this long for those 2 programs to have a player score in the Super Bowl.
Did Ingram
It's
not get into the end zone?
Neither did
with
Namath.
Philly? And Namath didn't score a touchdown either?
Kenny Stabler.
Nope. He threw. Well,
I don't think he did.
yeah.
I don't think the
No,
Snakes
he didn't.
scored
No,
a
Snakes
touchdown.
didn't score. Uh-uh.
I'm trying to. Well, I mean,
Paletnikov got him to the 1.
You have a
Yeah.
lot of these Alabama running backs, but the problem is that they haven't made Super Bowls.
Major Ogilvy.
You know, like, well, Eddie Lacy. Did Eddie Lacy not score a touchdown?
Sean Alexander.
He was in the 2011 Super Bowl.
Mhm.
It was Lacy and Starks for the Packers. Lacy didn't get in?
No.
That's
Didn't mean
fun.
more.
That's crazy.
I mean, I'm glad that at least the Super Bowl had something of significance that people could get excited about.
Mm.
I enjoyed it.
No, you didn't. You enjoyed it because you were gambling on it.
And
People that-
I won the Squares
Congratulations.
pool.
All
I
right.
won
Okay.
my bet.
Listen,
I missed the
Listen.
heads. I did
Yeah.
gamble heads and tails though, and I lost.
unless you are, and I have some friends that are Eagle fans.
I do
I was exchanging text with Brett Ciancia last night, and he went to the snow game against the Rams, and he said, "Oh, this is great." And the next text he goes, "Oh, I forgot you're a Chiefs fan." I said, "No, that's no problem. Hey, you beat us fair and square. You kicked our butt." But everybody can agree today that was a super snooze. The broadcast was bad. It was boring. The commercials were boring. Halftime set people off. The game wasn't very good. It will not be remembered. Even though the performance is dominating, it won't be remembered as like a great Super Bowl.
So, Jimmy, next year is CBS. Who gets the Super Bowl?
No, it's NBC.
So it's NBC. That'll be.
Now, here's a guy who played bad last year in the Super Bowl. Who's back?
See, I trust NBC.
Oh, people will lose their mind if Kansas City runs it again.
With Collinsworth in the Super Bowl.
How confident are you, right? I saw some early bird odds.
At least
for next
Collinsworth
season.
would call him Mahomes and not Patrick all the time.
True.
That's a good point.
Here's this guy, Mike.
Yeah, here's a guy. Let me look at the 2026 Super Bowl.
Kansas City's the favorite again.
No
Philadelphia's second. Yeah.
Early odds to win the Super Bowl betting. Can you guess the top 5? Or have you already seen it and already know the top 5? You already
Usual
seen
suspects.
So it's Kansas City plus 650, Baltimore plus 650, Philly plus 700, Buffalo plus 700, Detroit plus 700.
All
So
good
those are your
choices.
top 5. After them, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Washington, Green Bay, and the LA Rams finish out your top 10.
I can hear Bishop saying, hell yes.
Lowest odds, New York Giants, 250 to 1.
Oh, Richie.
You know what? If I was the Giants, I would tank again this year to get Arch.
That'd be awesome. Where would the NFL rather have Arch Manning go? New York Giants or Las Vegas Raiders?
Always New York.
You
drive a good point.
Like
with
in
Vegas.
the NFL, it doesn't matter though.
True.
I think it matters a little
No,
bit.
you could look guys in Kansas City, and he is
Green Bay.
one of the faces of the
good
NFL.
point. Good point.
So,
But
it's just like the NBA now. You don't have to be in New York or LA. Everybody says
make
you got to
money.
get to
Yeah.
get there.
You could be
I
in
mean-
San Antonio. Hmm?
I mean, two of the best players in the world play in Denver, Colorado, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
good point. It's a great point. It's a great point. I do think it matters a little bit, though. A little bit. Like if you're the NFL, you would rather have Arch Manning playing for the Giants as opposed to the Tennessee Titans or Jacksonville Jaguars. Like he's going to get a lot of attention
Duval.
regardless.
Now,
but you would
Jacksonville-
rather.
Jacksonville, yes. Tennessee's going to be, because remember, Tennessee's going to get a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
They're building
good
a
point.
brand new stadium. They're going to get a Super Bowl. That's why, like you were talking earlier, I hope they draft Carter. I think that would be the smart play. And then I would actually Aaron Rodgers.
Really.
Watch. Matt's going to come back from Nashville looking for jobs in Nashville. It's going to be the new place.
Oh,
Popping.
It's an unbelievable
Fun.
city.
I don't know how I'll do in Nashville.
Oh,
I don't know. There's
You're
a
gonna
lot
have
of people.
blast.
I feel like I'll get like sensory overload, and I'll just end
Nashville,
up like
there's not a
not.
ton of people in Nashville.
Well, there's a lot of partying though. Like we're going to the bars
Darn.
and everything like that, and downtown really active. I don't
Man,
know.
fun sucks.
Well, see, I think I'll have a good time.
You're going to be like every tourist there, or every bachelorette party. You're going to go to Broadway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go out to the Grand Ole Opry.
Mm.
Check the Grand Ole
That'll
Opry
be
out.
fun. That'll be fun. Have you been? Have you been
Yes.
to Nashville?
I like Nashville a lot.
Yeah. You have to give me the spots.
But there's it's the tourist areas. You're not really a country guy.
I like
You got
country
a
music.
little different country artists. They got bars right there on Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, Broadway's it's knuckleheads city. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
There's
Though. That's why
there's
exactly. I'm
knuckle
like,
draggers and there's hawk tuas.
Matt wants quality,
That's
not
where
quantity.
that's where she claimed
I
fame.
can't
She's
s-
back, by the way.
I can't
Yes.
stand her. I cannot stand her. Her
Why?
in front of the. I just think it's
Why?
such a joke. Such a joke.
She's
Oh,
going to
come
be on the
on.
Fox panel.
On your
soon.
rotation, you got her podcast and Call Her Daddy.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
Just check out the latest one
Talk
with
Tua.
Call Her Daddy and Chelsea Handler.
Nice.
Well, it's only one of the Call Her Daddy girls who's still there, right?
Yeah, she's
Is,
doing quite well.
Yeah, I think she is. Oh no, I'm not into that type of genre of podcast.
It's good. But expand your horizons. Learn the opposite sex.
I'm okay.
That'll serve you
Why?
well.
It does. It does serve you well. Like I want to learn more about Philadelphia.
Mhm.
I want to learn more about the Eagles. How they're built to win big.
Has your life in and around the house been better for you because you listen to Talk Tua and Call Her Daddy?
No, I'm dumber for listening to Hawk Tua, but I can't quit it. But
Yeah.
Call Her Daddy. I'm always informed. I
Yeah.
didn't know things work
Your
like
game's
that.
gotten better.
Yeah.
You went to the tape, you studied it,
Yeah.
You did the work that needed to be done. You went to other horizons.
I think that's important to learn both sides.
you changed the game plan.
Hey.
You never know what's coming now.
I'm a fan of the penny. Now I'm going to have to learn today why we are getting rid of the penny.
The penny.
The penny.
We're getting rid of the penny.
Yeah, we're stopping making pennies.
When did
Because
when did
it's
this
expensive.
happen?
What do you mean when it didn't happen?
I say that
have you
several
been,
times.
Have you been here for 3 weeks? There's a lot of stuff happening. You
Yeah.
gotta have your head on a swivel.
They're going to replace it
Was
with
that
buttons.
was that one of the orders? Were no more pennies?
I don't know. He was flying to the Super Bowl yesterday, and he flew over what used to be the Gulf of Mexico, and then signed the proclamation. It's the Gulf of America.
Do you judge him because he was a beat
Yes.
the traffic guy?
No, I judge him because he jinxed my team. He picked the Chiefs to win.
The DVOA. I mean, it was wrong. The DVOA was incorrect. PFF, they got it wrong.
Will the Eagles go to the White House?
Why wouldn't they?
They didn't last time.
Oh, well, there you go. Probably not then.
They'll go to Pat's. Have a sandwich.
I saw the Florida Panthers were there, and the spread was different. It wasn't all the fast food. Like
Was
it was,
Pups
like,
Up?
It was actually a cooked meal.
it like it was organized and it was
Yeah.
like okay.
It was actually professional. It wasn't just a bunch of here's a bunch of sandwiches from Chuckers.
I did talk to somebody that was on one of those teams from North Dakota State.
Yeah.
And they said it was kind of interesting. Like, they were all thinking they would have, like they were joking, is someone going to steal some of the China? And they show up and it's like all the fast food you could ever want.
Do you know what I would steal? I would steal the emblem that's on the little
Okay.
press conference, stand. You know what I'm talking about?
oh,
would
I
steal
got you.
that American seal emblem.
How do you snag
Did you
that?
watch the floor yesterday after the Super Bowl? Did you?
God, no.
No.
Okay,
I don't think anybody did.
I did.
Usually they have
I
something
did.
really cool that they debut.
Yeah.
This
Why
wasn't
would
the
you-
one.
why would you
No,
watch
the
that?
floor is awesome. That was sick. What would your
The
what-
bed was awesome.
No, comment if you watched the floor yesterday. It was great. They had this one girl who was gorgeous, absolutely stunning, but she was dumber than a box of rocks, and her category was pets. That was her specialty category, was just pets, and she got knocked out. Had no idea what a parrot was. It was incredible.
What was the name of this show?
The floor.
Only if it's lava will I
Hey,
watch.
it worked, man. They scheduled that for after the Super Bowl so people could keep watching like after the big game was over. And I stayed tuned in. I would do great. You have to pick like a niche category in order to like win. that
Yeah,
game.
it doesn't have the same banger after the Super Bowl like Friends or
Mhm.
Grey's Anatomy.
No,
Third
it was-
Rock from the
I loved
Sun.
it. What would
Or-
your category be? Your niche category that you're an expert on that you could help like win the floor. on?
Life.
Just no, you have to pick like a specific. Like
That
some
is a
people picked
specific.
pantry items or like bathroom, or one guy had sport MVP.
Color of Dots candy.
Like flavor, color to flavor. Okay. What would yours be, Jimmy?
He's taking dots, so I'm gonna have to think
What
a
a
little
god!
harder.
What a terrible show.
I
Yeah.
would.
Let me
What, was-
dominate
what was
it
your
after
sports
this.
one you said?
Mine,
I'll do
mine
that.
would be NL Central third baseman. I think that
Respect.
that would be my.
Obscure early '90s baseball players. How
Yeah.
you doing, Orlando Merced?
Athletes that begin with the letter R.
First or last name?
Both.
Oh,
Could they be a double R?
Maybe.
could they be writers? What's up, Ray Ratto?
Could be double R. Just
That's
single
going
R.
way back.
You know. You're up there. You're playing against someone who's like their favorite category is wedding planning. They put a picture of Randy Arozarena. Like, the hell are they going to do about that?
The '92 Pirates.
I'm shocked you didn't watch the floor. I think you would like the floor.
Do people get killed?
No.
I'm out.
I'm out.
You're only into shows if people like end up being murdered.
Why do you
Well, if
think
it's the
Squid Game's
floor,
popular?
Like if they miss a question, does the floor?
Eat them.
No, does the floor like fall out? It's like a drop,
Yeah.
and then you never seen them again.
The Running
They just
Man.
They just get
That's what you
eliminated.
need.
They just get.
I don't
axed.
know. My life watching TV shows hasn't been the same since Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
I'm like loyal though, like to Jeopardy.
Mhm.
I don't dabble and cheat and do all these other shows that they try and shove on me at nighttime.
I'm not a Jeopardy guy.
Bring back Match Game.
We were a Wheel of Fortune family.
I mean, you can only have so much Steve Harvey.
Come on, Family Feud. Bring me Jimmy. Bring me Gary.
Bring me his daughter.
Michael B. Jordan couldn't even hang on to her. So what the heck are we gonna do about it?
Playboy has held on to her.
Wow.
She's in the latest
Oh, is
edition
she?
of Playboy.
Oh, let's go.
Isn't everybody
Great articles,
nowadays?
Hey, people don't want to admit this, but like when Penthouse was around, Their college football analysis and preview was actually really good.
Ahead of its time.
It was.
Okay.
It
Like,
probably
I wouldn't-
inspired
Like they hired
Phil,
some really good writers.
Brett.
It's just you had to. I mean,
You had to pick a slant.
Yeah.
You can't have a great sports department
I mean,
and a great.
the problem I always had with the Penthouse like Big 8 or Big 12 preview is they never put it in the front, so you had to find it. So you were going through a lot of different pages.
Yeah. And you were getting judged because you were in the corner of Barnes and Noble. They're like, wow, Gary is really in to the Penthouse magazine.
Look at that.
right
It's in
now.
the shape of an
You
arrow.
know, but
Ooh,
you
football.
were just reading, the preview.
No, if you know because you know and you're trying to get me, you're trying to bait me into this. They had them in a plastic cover.
Yeah, you couldn't.
Yeah,
get
you
them,
couldn't open them. You couldn't sit there and look at them. I know
Oh,
what you're
really?
trying to
You
do.
had to kind
What
of.
was
It
I
was like
trying
the
to do?
mail. You're
Yeah.
trying to like hold.
What was I
it.
trying to do?
Yeah, you were thinking, hey, he did do that. No, you couldn't do it because they were in a plastic cover. It
They
wasn't
were
like
like locked up.
It wasn't like
a
a
security.
it wasn't like
a-
you were at the library.
Did
Right.
the Penthouse magazines have like those little fobs that they had to like you bring it up to the special counter and they got to run it through the security?
It's not like you're at the
don't know.
convenience
Yeah.
store in line
he-
and you're doing the
Because even if you do sell it, like you're not allowed to open it.
or Hy-Vee. Oh, look at that! Hey, TV guide.
Yeah, let me take this tag off of you.
Hey, they say Nebraska's going to win the Big 12.
And she's a looker.
Well, they did have the women of the Big 12.
What? Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, Playboy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Popular. I stood in line to get my edition autographed.
Oh, that's right.
Well, I mean, it was
Remember you
like
said,
the
yeah.
thing to do.
Who was the Dave Remington of the?
I don't know, but I know that like the two ladies that were from Nebraska didn't look like the two ladies that were in the magazine. They had a little different look to them.
Okay. Fair. Love the breakdown.
We'll come back and wrap the show after this. You think Fox with Brady yesterday, their worst case scenario was a blowout?
Oh, by far. He was
Absolutely.
Because
he was
can't-
giddy. He was getting a little giddy in the corner.
Not necessarily because he was going to remain the GOAT, but
It brings out your worst as a
Yes,
broadcaster,
he
or it
does.
can bring
Good
out your
point.
best.
he can't carry a conversation. So once they went into blowout material, he had nothing.
Well, then I was like 9 minutes to go, and he was already, and the game was over. I'm not saying the game wasn't over.
Oh, according to them, Kansas City still had a chance. Like they were pushing. Oh, you never know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
27-0.
But they went to the Eagles are going to win this game a little bit early. Like there was like, I don't know, typically you hit that talk like around the maybe like 3-4 minute point. I think they hit it early because they're like, Tom's got nothing else to say. I'm telling
I
you
can
something.
tell you when the Chiefs didn't do anything on the opening drive of the second half, you could have started. They could have poured Gatorade on Nick Sirianni, which I don't recall a Super Bowl where there was Gatorade poured on the coach before the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
That was a little rough. for
Well,
us.
you know what?
A
It
little
was
rough.
Even
smart,
Jimmy
though.
Johnson, it
Wasn't it
was-
smart though? Because they're like, all right, he's gonna be standing still and we're gonna get him. You know, like we're gonna hammer him. They hammered him. He was wet.
Thank you to TecmoBowl.org, the Tecmo Godfather. With Alabama and Texas finally scoring a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Of course, that is not a problem in Nebraska because of Roger Craig. Cam Jurgens has now played in 2 Super Bowls, has a win. Roger Craig has 3 wins in the Super Bowl. Mick Tingelhoff with the Vikes never won the Super Bowl, but was in 4 of them.
Jeez.
But how about this little nugget? Thank you. Shadron State Super Bowl touchdowns.
Oh,
It's a trick question. Is
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more
yeah.
than Danny,
because it's
Okay, yeah, so Danny Woodhead has 1.
but there's someone else.
There's someone else.
Shadron State University. That's John Gruden's impression.
Will
I
he
don't-
be the OC, by the way, for Kellen Moore?
who Gruden?
Mm-hmm.
No,
He used to
Gruden's
do
black. Gruden still is in that massive, very
Oh,
ugly litigation right now with the NFL.
But he would be an OC.
Yeah.
He would
I
not
think
be the
that's
head
different.
coach.
I don't think they want him in the league.
We live in a new
Goodell
day.
obviously doesn't like him. Are you kidding me? That all those emails were out there and the only ones that got leaked were the ones that got Gruden? Okay. They don't want him in the league.
OC with the Saints.
People
Who's
get
the other one?
uncanceled.
Who's the other Shadron State?
Don Beebe. 2 touchdowns for the Buffalo Bills,
Mhm.
who next year the Super Bowl will be.
In
Call your shot
Santa
right
Clara.
now. The day after the Super Bowl, call your shot. Who will be playing in the Super Bowl next year? Because we're going to the West Coast now.
A day Super Bowl for half.
Yes.
I'm going to go Buffalo Bills
Bills.
and the Detroit Lions.
Mm.
That's what I think. Now, I think that
No, you gave your 2 teams. You can't just say no. Now, if Josh Allen doesn't have an MVP,
no.
Buffalo's
I think
vaporized by
Kansas
the
City will be in the
aliens.
AFC Championship game,
All right.
and I think, but I don't. I'm a little bit like I understand they're bringing everybody back, and like there's a whole. There's a lot of validity to saying, hey, the Eagles can do it again,
Mhm.
but I think a Super Bowl slump could come. And I think I'm willing to say that the Eagles don't make the NFC Championship game next year.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Buffalo and Detroit. Buffalo beats the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. No controversies, no anything. Good game, 34-27. The last game at Rich
score.
Stadium before they moved to the new place the year after.
You are old school because they haven't called it Rich Stadium in a long time.
It'll always be
What
Rich
about
Stadium
you?
to
What do
me.
you call your shot?
Philadelphia and Buffalo next year in the Super Bowl.
We'll see.
America
We'll
will
see.
be rooting for the Bills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eagles
It will not
find
take
out.
very long for people to get sick of the Eagles.
I think people are
Maybe
already
tomorrow.
sick of the
I was gonna
Eagles.
say
I
Wednesday.
think it's already happened.
Yeah, but they're
Thursday,
scary.
the
They're built to win big.
They are.
Yeah.
They're built like that. I don't know.
yeah.
Just a little hunch. I got a little hunch that they're going to have, they might get in a little trouble next season.
Nate on the stream, because I got to
Exactly
get this
what
on
happened when they made the Super Bowl the last time.
there. Nate says Jimmy Dallas wins the next 3 Super Bowls after drafting Dylan Raiola. Next go. Let's go.
Yeah.
You guys can
Chicago,
have that.
Detroit, NFC Championship game.
Ooh.
Caleb's coming.
Sadness in Lincoln today. Raiola showed up for winter conditioning and he was wearing a Hurts jersey.
He changed his goatee. He's got a different style of facial
He
hair
had
now.
he had a Super Bowl party. Rocco on the podcast yesterday said he was going to Dylan's Super Bowl party.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I
Good for
said, Said, Rocco, will you be part of the group that'll be going to make appearances at high school games, hockey? All right. Post Super Bowl Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, everybody. Busy week around here. There is a lot of important ball for red, blue, and black Nebraska. 5 weeks from today, we could have a bracket with 3 teams in it and be pretty damn giddy. We'll talk about that tomorrow, because tomorrow also is UConn and Creighton on Dollar Beer Night. And if you see
$1,
Coach,
I thought it was $2 beer night. It's $1.
No, it's
beer
dollars.
night?
This is Omaha, not LA.
inflation,
Oh my god.
maybe it's 2. And if you see Coach Hurley out and about in Omaha tonight, make sure you say hello to him and welcome him back to Omaha.
Shout out Rick Pitino.
We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6 with Gary and Matt and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.